Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a special Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. We are live here at 2 p.m. We are not going to waste much time getting into segments because Russ is leaving a bit early today. He is going to be on Scott Ritter's U.S. Tour of Duty show over on Rumble at 3:30, at which point I will be going to the bullpen, calling for a reliever, bringing in the great Jose Vega to talk more about the peace rally this weekend in New York City and talk about Diane Sare's recent intervention on some congressional candidates. So we have a lot to get to today, but we are, of course...
I just, as a brief PSA, I just want to say, global warming gets a bad rap, but it is beautiful here today. So I'm saying more SUVs.
Yeah, it's...
more
it's
SUVs, less solar.
Yeah. It's about 65 up here, too. It's really nice out today. It's like a spring
80
day.
80 degrees in New York.
Yeah, that's why I got my spring shirt on. I got my spring colors on because it feels like spring. It feels like we skipped over winter. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
Well,
Beautiful.
Russ
It's
is
good.
going on.
Carbon dioxide is good for the plants, man. That's what Schellenberger says.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what Michael Schellenberger says. Absolutely.
Yep.
We are bringing Jose on today, and Russ is going on Ritter's show today because we have a couple of events, big events this weekend in New York City. Obviously, Scott, Russ, and myself will all be speaking at this one, the Chorus Against the Ghouls of War, the peace rally and concert on the 26th at 2 p.m. That's a Saturday. And then Russ will be participating.
I have a solo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Russ has a trombone solo.
Fly not sauber, Gott der Funken. How's that?
Not bad. Not bad. And then Scott Ritter is putting on an event at the Tudor City Steakhouse over in Tudor City near the United Nations, which is very conveniently located near Grand Central Station. So if you want to take the train in, it's a very, very short walk from there. But this is a brunch with a great lineup: Randy Credico, Jimmy Dore, Russ, Dennis Fritz, Danny Haifong, Garland Nixon, Jeff Norman, Diane Sayer, Larry Wilkerson, and a buffet steakhouse brunch. So that is a nice little program there. So what you want to do, because Russell has his Saturday night tour the night before, go to Russell's tour, go get shit-faced after the tour, and then wake up hungover and come drown that hangover in all kinds of lipids at the Tudor City Steakhouse buffet. Because the best way to nurse a hangover is what? Hearty, fatty food. So there you go. Boom. Your weekend is planned. Your weekend is planned. You got the peace event at 2 o'clock on Saturday, Russ's tour that night. Go out, knock yourself out, come back for a nice brunch. There you go. That's a nice weekend in New York.
And the tour ends 2 blocks from Bleecker Street Pizza. You could actually get some of that pizza to suck up some of the alcohol to prepare you for the event the next morning.
There you go. Absolutely. It's going to be a fun weekend in New York City. You can get tickets for Scott's brunch there at his website, scottritter.com. Very simple URL. We'll be plugging this all once again when Jose joins us in progress. But we do not want to waste much time today because we only have Russ for the next 73 minutes because he's got a hard out at 3:25. So we are going to jump right in. We have some very good news to report in the Jeremy Loffredo saga. His colleague at the Grayzone, Max Blumenthal, tweeted this out this morning here. American journalist Loffredo Jeremy's on his way home. That's right. He is on his way home. This picture I blurred out just for safety's sake because Max had the face of the person in there blurred out. I'm assuming that is Jeremy next to an Israeli missile, or not, next to an Iranian missile. So just in the interest of not causing them any more problems, I figured I'll just blur out the whole thing. But that is what that picture is of. And Max writes the following. American journalist Jeremy Loffredo is on his way home after being informally deported by the Israeli police. Following an arbitrary arrest by the Israeli military at a West Bank checkpoint, Jeremy was blindfolded, shackled in a military truck, then held in solitary confinement for 3 days with little food or water. Israeli authorities had falsely accused him of supporting an enemy during wartime for legitimate reporting he performed for the Grayzone. Though 2 Israeli judges ruled Jeremy's reporting did not violate the military censor's policy, they gave the police until October 20th to investigate him. During that period, the police seized and hacked into his phone, confiscated his wallet and passport, and interrogated him repeatedly at a station in occupied territory. When the deadline to wrap the investigation arrived, the police quit their fishing expedition and ordered Jeremy to book the first available flight out of the country. He was interrogated one final time at Ben Gurion International Airport, then allowed to leave. Jeremy's persecution for publishing factual journalism reflects the paranoid attitude of an Israeli state that is ruthlessly repressing critical reporting in the occupied West Bank and besieged Gaza Strip, where it has killed more than 120 Palestinian journalists in just over a year, making it the deadliest conflict for media professionals in the 21st century. We're extremely grateful for the massive outpourings of support Jeremy received. The pressure generated by our colleagues, supporters, and press freedom organizations played a pivotal role in ending his wrongful detention. Jeremy will provide a detailed account of the whole disturbing saga as soon as he returns to the U.S. So that's obviously great news that he's free. Obviously, the judges ruled that he did not, in fact, violate the censor's policy, as Max stated here, as was pretty obvious from the beginning. There were PBS reporters who showed the location of the missile. There were other outlets who published that information. Jeremy's reporting was embedded in other reporting that was not deemed in violation of the censor. So it was just a ridiculous charge on its face. But I want to pay special focus to the first paragraph here. When the deadline to wrap arrived, the police quit their fishing expedition and ordered Jeremy to book the first available flight. This is literal mafia stuff. You know, we roust you, we lock you up, we torture you, we beat you. And then when we know we really can't go any further, get the hell out of here, kid. Run away. It was an act of brutal intimidation.
Yeah, it's police state stuff. It's a police state. The idea that we're calling this our oasis of democracy in the Middle East, it's a joke. It's a joke. A few weeks ago, disgusting pig Bill Maher, with his usual insight, did one of his monologues about the Democrats invoking patriotism by way of slamming his usual target, young people, for not embracing patriotism, and even worse, for embracing the cause of the Gazans who don't enjoy the freedoms that you enjoy. Okay, so which freedoms do you mean? These freedoms?
Right.
These kinds of freedoms. I see.
Right.
I see. You're so much better off in this country that has the rule of law and civil rights. They took a reporter and held him hostage in the back of a van with hardly any food and water for 3 days. That's if this happened in a non-allied country. You talk about banana republics. You talk about totalitarian regimes. So what is this if not that?
Well, yeah. And, also what you have to think, I said when we covered this a couple of weeks back or whatever it was, time seems to be flying, probably was more recent than that. that, Israel doesn't have a First Amendment, and that's technically true. They don't have a codified First Amendment. But I looked in terms of like free speech index, in terms of countries whose documents and sort of framework allowed for free speech. Israel's actually ranked number 11 worldwide. And so you're supposed to have a modicum of free speech there, according to their system. We're not a lawyer. I'm not versed in the intricacies of their system or the enforcement mechanisms of their system, but they are ostensibly supposed to have free speech and a free press, broadly speaking. And what they've proven here is the same thing that the UK has proven. It's the same thing that we have proven in times when dissidents actually get in the way of business as usual. As Julian Assange said, my biggest naivete was believing in the law. I believe that because it says on paper the United States has a codified free press, I assumed they wouldn't charge me like this. Well, turns out all those documents are just paper at the end of the day. When they want to come for you, they will. Now, Jeremy learned that for a period of time before finally being released because they had no case. And it turns out the judge gave the police some extra time to try and make a case. When they couldn't, what did they say? Get the hell out of here, kid. That's gangster shit. That is a mafia state. That's what that is. Doesn't matter what their laws say, what their rules say, what their constitution. No, that doesn't matter. What matters is they have a war that they are trying to prosecute, and they tried to accuse him of aiding and abetting the enemy when obviously there was no case there. There was no case.
Well, they're just trying to intimidate any kind of independent press. I mean, clearly you say these media outlets that they just can't fuck with,
right?
Like PBS have shown this stuff,
right?
But they don't want any of these people who are not in any way connected to the foreign policy establishment to feel like they can send a reporter there and produce these kinds of reports. That's why they honed in on Jeremy, because the Grayzone is probably the highest profile of serious independent journalistic outlets. Really independent, not billionaire funded independent, like independent. So they want to scare all the rest of us. Right. Look, I mean, even before this happened, and I said this when this happened to Jeremy, he's got a lot of courage, because even knowing what I know, I wouldn't go there and do what he's doing. I would assume something like this might happen. I'd be afraid of getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
They don't care. They'll shoot you in the head and say, "Oh, it was a ricochet."
Right.
Oh, there was a
bounced
terrorist.
Off the floor.
It bounced off we were aiming at a terrorist. It was an accident. It was a training exercise. They'll say something. They'll whack you over there. So for him to even be over there doing that, that's an incredible amount of courage. And how many people now who might have thought about doing something like that won't do it?
Of course. Yeah. I think that's correct. Yeah. 100%. All right, folks, we got a great crowd in here to start the show for a matinee. 942 strong on the YouTube chat, 630 over on Rumble. Let's smash that like button everywhere we're at. Smash that follow button.
We've been inconsistent about giving them a number of the beast on the likes.
On the likes, yeah. Well, I have to make sure I check that. I can check that. So we are at 231 likes. So let's get up to 666 likes. We got the people here to do it. Let's make that happen, everybody. Also, special note, two special notes. A lot going on between now and the election. Our calendar is going to be very packed. Our post-duopoly show tonight with our friend Kit from Hardlands, who is in the chat, as I understand. What's up, Kit? And, of course, Nick Cruz over at RBN. That will be on the RBN YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m., there is a third-party debate that is live streaming. I signed up for live stream access for that. We will be streaming that third-party debate tomorrow, starting at 7:45 p.m. for the patrons. So that will be a supporter stream, and we will take your calls after the debate is over. So special supporter stream, third-party debate edition, tomorrow night at 7:45, and then we're live for the morning show the following morning. And then I will be guesting with our friend Craig Pasta Jardula. Russell, you're invited. I forgot to bring it up. He's going to be pissed that I didn't bring it up to you yet. But you're invited to join. I'm doing it now in the air. Just our schedule's been so busy.
What is this now? What?
A third-party sort of forum that Pasta's hosting over on his channel Thursday at 3. I'm going to join at 3. If you want to join with me, you can. I'll bring that up now.
I'm supposed to be at the Patreon thing.
Oh, all right. Well, either way, it doesn't matter. Just wanted to bring that up to you. Figured I'd do it on the air since I forgot to do it before. It's been very busy, folks. We have a ton on the schedule this week. I mean, this is as packed as we've ever been.
It's what you would expect. Yeah, and the tour and the speaking things this weekend, and we got the movie night. Was that Monday?
Monday.
All right. Yeah. By overwhelming demand, it will be They Live.
They Live. Patron movie night on Monday. They Live for the inaugural film club, Patron Film Club.
Yes. Because it's so close to Halloween, we picked a politically themed horror sci-fi kind of thing. I will say I am impressed by how many of you knew the movie Eating Raoul. I thought that was going to go over everybody's head, but a lot of them have seen it, actually.
Well, this guy knows it here. Abiding 71. Though the vomit draft of Eating Raoul was eventually scrapped, it was resurrected 30 years later as Hot Tub Time Machine. Thank you. Abiding. Kenman G, since no hope for the future, and why not Shiva Daryl Cooper 2028? Shiva says he invented email. Cooper reinvented history. Reinvent America. There you go. I like that one, Kenman G. Thank you very much. Let's see here. K. Cott was, I don't think it's fair to write off Russell Brand as a con man after a single dumb promo. Well, it's not just that. It's the whole religious conversion. Remember that these allegations were completely anonymous, shoved down our throats by Western media. After speaking out against the war in Ukraine, he was never charged with anything. His newborn son was also serious risk of dying at the same time due to a heart condition. Oh my God, Kotwas, it's not uncommon for a person to convert after going through a dark night of the soul. Accusing him of being a cynical grifter is simplistic and dismissive. Love you all either way. We love you too. Save that money for a magical amulet, though. Why are you giving up? Why are you giving us all these Rumble rants? You put that money towards one of the gold chain EMF blocker pendants.
If Eggs could speak, he'd already be in prison.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Handyman.
The oldest grift in the world. They say prostitution is the world's oldest profession. Religion is the world's oldest grift. Now that doesn't mean religion by definition is a grift. I go to a Buddhist temple on Sundays when I can myself. But if you want to grift off people, there's no better grift than religion.
To me,
L. Ron Hubbard, man, he very famously said, you know how you make real money? You start a religion. One of the worst schlocky science fiction writers in a generation of some of the greatest science fiction writers in history. And this guy basically wrote a science fiction plot, called it real, and that was it.
That was it.
You still got these Scientology. They've got billions of dollars in real estate. So I'm not saying religion has to be that by definition, but if you want to grift, there's no better grift than that.
Hey, look, to me, the most obvious and undeniable and most damning evidence against Russell Brand is what he's not talking about now because he needs to maintain the audience that he's maintained. This guy has had anti-war convictions his whole life, and a year into a genocide, not a single tweet about Israel, Gaza, nothing. Literally, search his feed. You won't find a word, not one word. And so that, to me, is the most damning thing.
Right.
And that's obviously not refutable. That's documented or not documented.
And you know, people have mentioned that he talked about it in the past. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Before they got to him. Now he doesn't. Exactly. Now he's up there on stage with Jordan Peterson and at Rescue the Republic. Oh, and January 6th in this Huxley Orwellian. Not a fucking word about a genocide happening in our time. What do you think he forgot? It's an oversight.
You think he doesn't know?
It's an oversight. He doesn't know about it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. Bill Edley became a member on YouTube. Thanks, Bill, for that support. Appreciate that very much. Handyman, thanks for the $5. For us newish listeners, how do y'all know each other? We would troll a Hillbot friend of ours during the 2016 campaign. We met online through a mutual friend who posted a lot of cringe stuff. And so we found ourselves liking and commenting and boosting each other's shit posts. And that's how we got to know each other. That's our origin story. A truly online origin story. We were bound to be podcast partners, given that online a story, right? All right, folks. Here's a funny one. Yo, Donald Trump has been killing it at the Comedy Game lately. I gotta say. I mean, he is really on some kind of a roll between the Al Smith dinner, the McDonald's thing, and this stop in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, where he pays heartfelt tribute to Latrobe's own Arnold Palmer.
Yeah.
All man, and I say that in all due. Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this guy,
There's a pussy anyway.
this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God. That's unbelievable. I had to say it. We have women that are highly sophisticated here, but they used to look at Arnold and say, man, but he was really something special. Arnold was something special. So I just want to tell you, you're very lucky, the people that live in Latrobe, and it's an honor for me to be here because of him. And he was actually he was a great man, and I don't think there would be golf to the extent that you have it today. It probably wouldn't be that way without the great Arnold Palmer. So enjoy it, everybody. Enjoy it.
He's the only one who could golf without clubs.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't call his 5-wood a 5-wood. He called it an 8.5 wood, if you know what I mean. Give me a second term. I'm going to build a statue in the middle of the Latrobe of Arnold Palmer's cock. That'll be a traffic circle. We'll put that in the middle of a traffic circle.
And that's I keep my campaign promises, not like Kamala.
Not like Kamala. Kamala will promise you a statue of Arnold Palmer's cock. She won't build it. She's all talk, no action.
If you're lucky, you get maybe a testicle. Maybe one. Maybe a half of one.
That is hilarious. Oh, that is so funny. Oh, when they took showers with him. Oh, boy. How does he know that? How does he know that when the pros took showers with him that they were impressed?
I mean, these kinds of things amongst people in the know, they circulate.
That's Bohemian Grove shit.
It's elite shit.
Yeah.
I told you, man, a lot of the stuff that came out about people sexually later on, about Kevin Spacey, about John Travolta, I was hearing that shit 20 years ago from people in the industry.
Yeah.
But you don't see it in the press.
Right.
It's
yeah, that's
the
a good
same
point.
because the gossip
probably got
columnists,
around.
they practice the same access journalism as the political media does. They don't report what they're not supposed to talk about.
He is on a roll though with the comedy. I mean, that was funny. That was off message, but funny. He's been getting lucky where he's gotten off message. It's been funny, and the media's sort of shrill and humorless response, whether it's to the McDonald's stunt or this, has been, I think, helping him. Just as in 2016, the media freakouts have been helping him.
They never learn. They never learn.
Well, case in point, here's Jake Tapper asking Mike Johnson about this. This is one of the funniest pieces of video in a while as well.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis in front of Pennsylvania voters?
Jake, you seem to like that line a lot. Let me tell you that Donald Trump is doing rallies.
That should be a new formulation. They say anytime you're explaining, you're losing. Anytime you're saying the words Arnold Palmer's penis, you're losing.
You're losing. That's right. And that was actually a fairly good comeback from Mike Johnson there. Wouldn't expect him to have much comedy chops, but he comes back pretty good. You seem to like that line very much. Let's watch that again.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis in front of Pennsylvania voters?
Jake, you seem to like that line a lot. Let me tell you that Donald Trump is doing rallies nonstop around the country.
I'm
not gay.
I don't want to be talking about this. Donald Trump is out there saying it is.
But you continue to.
Statistically, you're the evangelical Christian. You're much more likely to be a homosexual than I am.
It did not in any way excite me imagining Arnold Palmer's considerable man meat slamming me in the ass.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that was not at all what I thought of when Donald Trump began that monologue.
He throws that back at him. That is pretty funny stuff. Creating a Trump deranged news cycle, and folks, Now we have a piece of them to go to. Whenever we cover mainstream media Trump derangement syndrome, we have this to go to.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis?
There you go. The latest addition to the soundboard.
That's a good clip. That's a good clip.
Whenever there's a freak out, whenever there's a Trump freak out in the media, this was.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis?
We just hit that. There you go. So thank you, Jake Tapper, for that.
I mean, really, we should reach out to someone with the skills and set that to a dance beat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right, exactly.
Dun, 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 dun. Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, yeah, man, between the Al Smith, everything comes in threes. They say good things come in threes, right? Al Smith, McDonald's, and this one. Quite a roll. Quite a roll. He's killing it. Killing it when it's important down the home stretch.
He understands his brand. It's the snobs versus slobs thing. Americans will always side with the slob in that conflict. And they take the bait every time because they are boxed in by the fact that their audience has no sense of humor. If they had a sense of humor, they couldn't sit and watch CNN without feeling the way that I feel, that I think most of our audience feels. It's like a vice on my head watching cable news. It's just it's so offensive. I can't get through more than a couple of minutes of it. If you watch that and it's not like you're being tortured by the Nazis for secrets, you can't process this in any way other than to be offended.
Well, exactly. And that's why, the Jeremy Scahill appearance was like so cathartic, because he finally said what I can't help but think whenever I watch a political rally or a political segment on, mainstream corporate media. Like, how do you just carry on doing political content without screaming about a genocide that's happening right now?
Right.
Like, there's just, it's so, and look, this has been a project of both Democrats and Republicans and their respective sort of media organs for the past, several years, which is filtering out all sort of anti-establishment sentiment, all anti-establishment thought, really choosing, basically curating the voters, curating the voter base. So, win or lose, we have to appeal to people who are not too bothered by a genocide, right? We're going to have this conversation inside the margins of what CNN, MSNBC, and Fox want you to really care about, which is immigration, jobs, Social Security, taxes, blah, blah, blah. The foreign policy stuff, they really don't want to go there. They don't want people who are concerned about that watching them. And that's why when Scahill came on and just punctured that bubble, it was just such a relief to hear somebody say that.
The
on
genocide in the room.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they just want people in a perpetual state of offense on both sides. I mean, you go to Fox, it's the parallel version of that.
Right.
Do you know what someone said about a thing that doesn't at all matter in your life at all? Said today? Did you see the actress from Wicked? Did you see what she said about that poster? That's it. That's all they want you talking about.
Right. Exactly. Stoop sign, some chatter or rumble ranter on the JD sub erroneously said that Democracy Now! Didn't report on Jeremy Loffredo. She reported his release from detention, but said he was to remain in Israel 4 days later, free. Yeah, I think she did do a segment on that. I think Democracy Now! Did do a segment on that. Pretty sure. I know The Guardian wrote a piece about it, which Blumenthal was surprised about, but I'm pretty sure that they did one too. Hillary Hinton, leave the missile, take the cannolis. Yes, thank you, Hillary Hinton. Appreciate that. R.I.P. Paul Di'Anno, Iron Maiden's first singer.
Did he just die?
Did he just die? Interesting, Eric Cuso. Thank you for that. Let's get to 666.
Next week, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Next week.
You're going there next week.
November 2nd. Yeah.
Absolutely. JM, thanks for the $2 and the thumbs up over on YouTube. Super chats are super helpful. Thank you, folks, for sending those in. This account is pending. CNN needs you to feel bad for bulldozer murderers. That's right. Thank you. This account is pending. Appreciate that very much. All right, folks, moving right along. So while Donald Trump was paying tribute to Arnold Palmer in Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris was planning a swing state tour with Liz Cheney. And this week, it's underway. Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris make a play for GOP women in blue wall suburbs. That's right. They are sweeping the Rust Belt. Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney. Vice President Kamala Harris made a concerted effort on Monday to appeal to Republican women in the nation's suburbs, using former Representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming as her ambassador to conservatives during events in well-to-do suburbs of the biggest cities in 3 important battleground states. Stumping together in town hall-style settings before intimate crowds at small theaters in the Detroit, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia suburbs, Ms. Harris and Ms. Cheney presented a united front against former President Donald J. Trump, though it was Ms. Cheney who offered the clearest rationale for why Republicans should vote for Ms. Harris. On abortion rights, national security, and foreign policy, Ms. Cheney painted Mr. Trump as irresponsibly dangerous, while describing Ms. Harris as the safer, reasonable choice to maintain the stability of the country and protect women's health. Kamala HQ, very, very proud of these joint appearances here. So here is a video clip that they tweeted out of Liz Cheney making the case for Kamala.
I think that we are facing a choice in this election. It's not about party. It's about right and wrong. And I certainly have many Republicans who will say to me, I can't be public. They do worry about a whole range of things, including violence, but they'll do the right thing. And I would just remind people, if you're at all concerned, you can vote your conscience and not ever have to say a word to anybody. And there will be millions of Republicans who do that on November 5th. Vote for Vice President Harris.
You can keep it to yourself. Secret ballot. Secret ballot. You don't have to tell anybody that you're voting for Kamala Harris. And she thinks millions of moderate suburban Republicans are going to do that. Hey, look, it's possible some will. That this is why the election outcome is so uncertain, because we know there's hidden Roe votes. We know a decent amount of Republicans have voted pro-choice in recent years. There's no way Kansas gets to 60-40 pro-choice if that doesn't happen. I don't know about millions, but she's saying there, hey, you don't have to tell anybody. You can go in and vote for Kamala. Is this the play a healthy and winning campaign is making with 2 weeks to go? Probably not.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? I've never seen them come to any left faction with such a conciliatory tone.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when Sanders was gaining a lot of popularity in spite of the Bernie bro narrative with young women. Madeleine Albright, who once said that 500,000 Iraqi children's death was a worthwhile price to pay. Right. The Iraq policy was absolutely correct, even in light of that. Said, not thinking about the place in hell that was probably already reserved for herself, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. That is not like the treatment these Republicans are getting.
No.
These Republicans get a nice spa treatment, nice hot stone massage. You're on the left, you get the fire and brimstone. How dare you? How dare you, you little bastards? You're going to vote for Hillary and you're going to like it. Right?
Yep.
This is why Abandon Harris has it exactly right. Exactly right. They are the first major Democratic Party faction to ever figure out, oh, you know what? You know the best way to get leverage? Don't vote for them.
Exactly. And keep that going to and through the day of the vote.
Yes.
Don't fold at the last
Not
minute,
as a
uncommitted,
threat. Yes.
uncommitted 3 weeks before. Oh, okay, well now you got to vote against Trump. We're not endorsing Kamala, but you have to vote against Trump and not for a third party. But that's not an endorsement of Kamala Harris, right?
And since they gave us this sack of cash behind a bus station, we're going to make a video about Project 2025 that in no way was paid for by the DNC.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But we're not done. That was just one stop. They go on. There was relatively little discussion of the economy, and Ms. Harris delivered lines that result in big cheers at her rallies in a more measured, calm voice. One exchange in Pennsylvania that did bring the crowd to life seemed to be a surprise to the vice president when she reiterated a need for a healthy two-party system. Now, I had to search a little bit for this video because they described this in the Times article, and I'm like, no, it's not good enough to read it. I have to find this video somewhere, and it wasn't on Twitter, but I was able to track it down, and this is worth it in a sense. This is some more anti-content, folks. This is cringe. This is big-time cringe here, so here's this moment.
I feel very strongly that, for example, on the issue of partisanship, yes, we're going to have disagreements, but I actively invite good ideas from wherever they come. That's why I'm going to have a Republican in my cabinet, by the way. Because I want good ideas. And by the way, I know it is in our best interest as a nation, in the interest of our strength, in our future as a nation. We need a healthy two-party system. We need a healthy two-party system. We need to be able to have these good, intense debates about issues that are grounded.
Do we allow the billionaires to become trillionaires? Or do we try to keep them at the billionaire level? We need to have that debate.
I'm going to bring Republicans in to do it.
Fact. Imagine. Let's start there.
I got to get that whole sentence in.
Fact. Intense debates about issues that are grounded in fact. Imagine. Let's start there. Wow. Can you believe that's an applause line? But, you know,
Oy,
it's...
Oy is right. Learn that from Doug, I guess. Oy, that's the smartest thing you've said in a very long time. Oy is right.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Oh, my God. You know, after watching this, it clicked to me that election night is going to be, assuming we have an idea of who the winner is going to be election night, which I think we will. We might not get a formal decision, but, you know, I think we're going to get a good idea of who's going to win. Election night will be the funniest night in American history. It has to be. Because think about it. First of all, on its face, half the country is going to have a meltdown, either blue MAGA or MAGA. And we have triggered many a blue MAGA meltdown in our day. And recently, past couple months, we've triggered some original red MAGA meltdowns as well. You guys are both hilarious when you're mad. You're both really funny when you're mad. It's really quite the adorable thing to watch you guys get all riled up. Both of you guys, the lib meltdowns and the MAGA meltdowns, you're both very, very cute when you're angry and very funny when you're angry. And so that is going to be hilarious. The other hilarious thing, too, think about it. I mean, if Trump wins, it's hilarious because look at all they've done to stop him. The impeachments, the Russiagates, the January 6s, the indictments, the convictions. They shot at him, and then here he is. I mean, that's hilarious. And if she wins, I mean, imagine the prospect of living potentially 8 years under this. Imagine she's president for 8 years.
Let's start there.
Imagine she's in the news every day for 8 years. Could you imagine that?
Can you believe that's an applause line?
Could you imagine taking this person seriously as the leader of the free world, quote unquote free world, of course, for 8 years, which is a possibility if she wins? That's some funny shit. I'm sorry, that is some fucking hilarious shit right there. So either way, it's got to be the funniest night in American history. Name anything funnier than either Trump losing to Harris, Harris losing to Trump, the MAGA chuds melting down, the libs melting down. I mean, some of those things are guaranteed to happen. How is it not the funniest night in American history? Name one night that's funnier.
Yeah, some people might call it either way a doomed presidency, but people in our line of work call it guaranteed content.
Call it cha-ching. Yeah.
That is going to be an endless supply of content either way. But if you look at the people in this room, it is an explanation for Donald Trump, and it's an explanation that they'll never contemplate. The smugness, the privilege of the people in that room who define facts as establishment narratives, assumptions, and touchstones. That's what they're calling facts.
Right.
Things are only allowed to be discussed within this very narrow parameter that really does not question the nuts and bolts of the system, right down to extolling the virtues of a strong two-party system. Well, that two-party system has really undermined American democracy. Clearly. They sue all over the country to get third-party candidates off the ballot. The Democrats do. So how is that good for democracy? How is that healthy? Today, Jesse actually emailed us. Today, Jill Stein is in court in Ohio to challenge them taking her off the ballot. So no, a strong two-party system is terrible for democracy. It's very good for the ruling class that fears democracy, that sees democracy as dangerous. You know, we just Stephen King, a meme just went around of him with his thumbs up with the I'm speaking shirt with Kamala. And I started thinking about Stephen King's work in the past. And that was always in there. If you look at the Dead Zone, Greg Stilson, the villain that he assassinates, spoiler alert of this 40, 50-year-old novel, sorry if you haven't read it, that he assassinates, what makes him dangerous? What makes him beyond the bounds? He's appealing to working people with populist appeals. The candidate wears a hard hat on stage and talks a lot about people being disenfranchised. That makes him a villain. Right. So no one should be surprised that these are Stephen King's politics. It's in his books. It's always been in his books. He is a very good, you want to understand how these people think, go read some Stephen King, because he always vilifies in The Stand. Who's the devil? He's a radical in the 60s. He's a guy who's kind of on the fringes of 60s radical movements, causing the violence and disruption.
Well, you know, it's funny you mention the two-party system, because she says there, we need a healthy two-party system. When you talk about a fact in their mind as being nothing more than a baseline assumption of this sort of bipartisan sort of oligarchic structure, that is a very good example of that. Because when she says we need a healthy two-party system, what she really thinks is that she's defending democracy, because it's a baseline assumption that the two major parties are the only parties who deserve a microphone, right? But what she's actually saying there, we need a healthy two-party system. Well, if you need a healthy democracy, why not have a healthy multi-party system, as many European countries do? There's nothing anti-democratic about that. But that is not... I don't even think Kamala, when she says that, she consciously thinks two parties means shutting out the Libertarians or the Greens or whoever. She just assumes democracy equals two-party system. It is baked into her understanding of how this country ought to function, as it is Liz Cheney's, as it is everybody in the audience. That's why they actually do process that sincerely in their heads as an embrace of democracy, because that's how they view democracy.
Well, because it's democracy for them.
Right.
It's democracy for the kind of people who would be in that room. Rich people. The upper 20% of society. We know Stanford did this study, 10 years ago. The general population's opinion has less than a 1% impact on legislation. If you're in the upper 20%, you think you're living in a democracy. That's why all these rich libs embrace the system. Because to them, what they want happens, right? They get their mortgage deduction on their taxes. They don't care if you don't get a rent deduction. They're not in that class.
That's right. Excuse me. That's right. So, folks, sort of B-side of this segment, as Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney barnstorm the Rust Belt, we know we're going to hear from MSNBC about this. We know they're going to sing the praises of this brilliant strategic move in the closing weeks of the campaign. And so Morning Joe woke up Chris Matthews early and you said, maybe leave the Jameson out of your coffee this morning because we're going to need you to talk. So they bring on Chris Matthews, and he goes on a monologue.
Please don't insult an intern before you come on.
Well, he doesn't even have to. He doesn't even have to think
We're trying
about
to rehabilitate you.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to think about the interns anymore. Now he could just think about Liz Cheney. He could just close his eyes and think about Liz Cheney. Because boy, does he have the hots for her. So here's Chris Matthews.
You're welcome, folks. You're never getting that image out of your head.
Here he goes.
I wouldn't think a few years ago I would ever be singing the praises of a Cheney member of the family, a member of that family. I really did not like the Iraq War, and I didn't like the neocons, and Cheney was leading them all, and he took us into that war, and it killed almost 200,000 people in Iraq, and it served no purpose. They had a bunker, a barrier against Iran, and they got rid of it.
I mean, the cognitive dissonance of these people is amazing. He's about to gush about Liz Cheney. He's already gushing. You can already see he has a smile on his face. Mm-hmm. And in his preamble, it's funny, man. I love Liz Cheney. She's amazing. I really didn't like what the Cheneys did in Iraq, where they killed a couple 100,000 people and, dismantled the bulwark against the other enemies in the. I really didn't like that at all. Like, you could incorporate that into a sort of expression of praise for someone, like that, just to have a smile on your face while reciting that information is amazing. But he does. Here, I'll start this one more time.
This is why, if you have woken up from this kind of media, some people were never drawn in by it. I think that's partly generational. But if you've ever really believed in this stuff, when you watch it now, man, it is just like, what was I thinking? Because and I do know what I was thinking. Like it's very, if you're constantly exposed to this, it massages your brain into accepting absolutely bizarre, absurd, and contradictory formulations, like any good propaganda does.
Right.
By omission, by repetition, by carefully, strategically focusing on what's in this hand and not what's in this hand.
Right.
Over time, you wind up accepting a view of reality that serves the elite class, and that the smartest of them, the ones who really run shit, they don't believe in themselves.
Right.
This is for the plebs who watch this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. All right, here he goes.
Be singing the praises of a Cheney member of the family, a member of that family. I really did not like the Iraq War, and I didn't like the neocons, and Cheney was leading them all, and he took us into that war, and it killed almost 200,000 people in Iraq, and it served no purpose. They had a bunker, a barrier against Iran, and they got rid of it. Anyway, she is a character almost out of the movies, out of
but anyway,
A Man for All Seasons.
But anyway, yeah, no, really hated the Iraq War and all the just needless death and carnage it caused. But anyway, Liz Cheney, great hero,
character almost out of the. Anyway, she is a character almost out of the movies, out of A Man for All Seasons. I've never seen a more heroic figure than Liz Cheney. She lost her state probably forever. She lost her party. She lost her leadership in the Republican House. She could have been on her way to Speaker. It was very probable. She gave it all away in the interest of truth.
She gave away her popularity in the great state of Wyoming to have a career as media darling of the entire establishment. She gave up Wyoming for that, folks. Yes, she surrendered the state of Wyoming. Yeah. There are a lot of moose out there who had high hopes for her.
She's
moose in Wyoming? No, they're not moose. What do they got out there? Bison, right? Yeah, that's what
bison,
it is.
Yeah.
Bison, not moose.
She had to take a job at the local plant pulling apart chickens. She's really sticking by her principles. Yeah, see, this is how privileged these people are. The idea that you don't get to be Speaker of the House that's a big sacrifice. Listen, this bitch was born rich, and she's gonna die rich. Don't tell me about her fucking sacrifice. Oh, she didn't get to climb all the way up the corrupt ladder of power in Washington. Oh wow, I never seen more bravery than this. Really.
And
Really?
rich on what? Rich on literal blood money. It's not like her father was an overpaid baseball player who left her a trust fund. You know, no, this is literal blood money. This is Halliburton. Yeah.
And also remember, this is not a sacrifice. This is one part of the aristocracy defending its privileges and positions against upstarts in the aristocracy. That's what this is.
Exactly, yes.
Well, we talked about with Caleb, he referenced that book that apparently is hard to get, Yankees and Cowboy Wars. But he talks about it quite a bit in his own book about Kamala Harris, that you have these, more Rockefeller-oriented rich people, and then you have what Trump and Musk represent, the more industrialists, more pro-growth, more traditional social values. But yeah, I mean that's why she's taking that stand. This is a part of the aristocracy that's deeply offended at the idea of MAGA.
Right. Exactly. All right, we'll let this play through.
That's what she stood for. It's amazing to me how few people have gotten behind her, but now one person that's got behind her is Kamala Harris. And those sitting together, those two women, as you say, on that stage is remarkable because there's such courage there from Liz Cheney. And I cannot say anything that would stop me from saying she's been unbelievable. And I think now if they use her for the next 2 weeks, I also want to say something about the Democrats. If you're going to use her, repay her when you get in office. Don't just act like you're giving a little nod to a Republican. Clean up some of your act. You got problems, Democrats. You don't have all the answers. You got to do much tougher action on the border. You have to get serious about it and come up with a
much tougher action on the border. Isn't that what Donald Trump called for 9 years ago, and you all called him a racist for it? It's funny how they have just completely given him the one issue that they were most offended by of his 9 years ago. It's funny how now that they are just like unapologetically trying to get as close to Trump's border policies as they possibly can, right? That's amazing. No, give her. He basically wants her in the cabinet. Give her the Department of Homeland Security. How about Secretary of State? You know what? Make her the president. She should run. Get Kamala out of there.
Well, but you know what? Not that Chris Matthews saying it is going to have any impact, but they might be right out ahead of him. That is something they would totally do to troll MAGA. Put her in the cabinet.
I mean, it wouldn't just be a MAGA troll. This would be a long-term sort of pitch to the new coalition that they want.
Sure.
You know, I mean, this started with Hillary. It was kicked into high gear under Biden, and now it's in overdrive. Now it's to the point where the reason they are running as close as they are to Trump in the polls is precisely because of this now almost 10-year-long explicit pitch to affluent suburban conservative independents who usually vote Republican. Now they want to get them into the Democratic Party, and they can because, look, I know people who have gone from, you know, Romney and Trump voters who then voted for Biden in 2020. Once they get hooked into that, they get hooked into the media ecosystem. That's the really powerful thing about shows like this is that, you know, I know someone, I won't say who, they're a very, very dear friend of mine. They voted for Obama the first time, Romney in 2012, Trump in 2016, Biden in 2020. They're the exact kind of voter who I might expect to revert to Trump because of, you know, inflation and stuff. But no, they're voting for Kamala now, no matter what, because when they voted for Biden last time, they got hooked into that media ecosystem. Now they watch Midas Touch on YouTube. Now they watch, you know, Politics Girl. Now they watch MSNBC. Once you get hooked in, it's hard to break back out. That's the point of shows like this. And that's why the Democrats are trying to suck as many of these people into their party, because once they get them to pull the lever, they can hook them in for life. And that's why the polls are as close as they are, because look at Democrats. Underperforming with African-American voters, not tanking as much as they were a few months ago because of a lot of mistakes that Trump has made, in my view, but they're underperforming with African-Americans, tanking with Latinos, really tanking with Muslims, badly underperforming with young voters, especially young men, and yet it's still close. It's still close. Why? Because this kind of shit works, and the kind of voters they
well,
are
and because
successfully
there are
roping in
more whites.
votes. They
Because
vote.
there are more whites. There
Yes.
are more whites in the voting population. Democrats can gain much less a percentage of whites and completely overwhelm a
Right.
large percentage of blacks or Latinos moving to the Republican Party. They're doing 2% better with whites. That
Right.
outweighs, I don't know the exact percentage, but a large percentage move in minority voters. That's why it's close.
And
That's
also,
why-
these whites in particular vote a lot.
Right. Disproportionate.
Yes.
They disproportionately vote. But the question is, and I wrote an article about this a while ago. There was a flip in the Republican and Democratic Party. What's his name? Dinesh D'Souza's kind of built a whole career on pretending that never happened, and that the Democrats today are the descendants of the Democrats of old, and they're
Oh, the KKK
really
and
they're
shit like
really
that, right?
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's made a whole career out of
Yeah.
making it, assuming his audience doesn't know that, which they don't.
Right.
Um,
It's a fair assumption in his case.
Fair assumption. In the Venn diagram, I'm betting Daryl Cooper's audience and Dinesh
Yeah.
probably overlap quite a lot. But yeah, the reason that happened was because the bases switched.
Right.
Now, that is clearly happening today, because the reason that so many non-white voters are moving into the Republican Party is because class defines people's voting patterns more than race does. And the working class is becoming more and more alienated from the Democratic Party, partly because of their cultural signaling. Look at that room. Is that relatable for a working class person of any identity? Right. Do those people seem like workers to you? Can they speak to working class concerns in a way that's convincing and authentic? The Democrats, since Clinton took over the party, since the New Democrats took over, they have done everything they can to tell working people they don't like them. They don't like them personally. They don't like them culturally. It oozes from their very pores that they see them as the deplorables. They see them as a bunch of Archie bunkers. I always say, go back to All in the Family. Mike and Gloria grew up. They took over the levers of society. And as you would expect, they tried to excise Archie Bunker from their coalition. They didn't want him. And that's how eventually they got the message. And they started moving over to the Republican Party. But the Republicans are also owned by Wall Street. They're not interested in doing anything for that coalition. So that's the real question. Last time there was this switch, it made sense because the one party was advocating for those voters. Now you got two parties, that one of which is better at culturally signaling to those voters, but neither of which is really interested in serving those voters. So where does that go? I mean, that's a very unstable system. Aristotle believed oligarchies are one of the most unstable forms of government because ultimately the people are going to rise up against it. They're going to get so frustrated by this elite class that's sucking up all the resources that eventually they're going to become ungovernable.
Yes. Well said. Good point, Charles. Kevin G. Only interested in watching Due Dissidents and chewing bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Privileged to tune in every show, gents. Well, we're privileged to have you as an audience member, Kenman. Thank you very much.
You know what that's a reference to, right?
Yeah, well, that's a common construct there. I came to do this and that, and I'm all out of this.
But I'm pretty sure because we mentioned it, he's talking about They Live.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, that's the common thing, right?
Oh, yeah. But he says that in They Live.
In They Live. Arnold Palmer's doing this, Arnold Palmer's dong is the size of an Arizona Arnold Palmer can. It was only cocktail that needed no booze. All dong with a little tea and lemonade. That's right. It's the size of an Arnold Palmer Arizona can. I like that. That's funny. That is good. Pete Sweet lived in Dearborn Heights 52 years. Not surprised Detroit community supported Mideastern neighbors at their restaurants, etc. after 9/11. Many in Detroit area will not vote for Harris in solidarity now. Yep. Absolutely. We did a segment on that the other day. Thank you, Pete Sweet, very much for that donation. Cool Blue, thanks for the $4.99. A political party which rigs their presidential nominations is not a true political party, much less a healthy political party. Amen. Med Webb, thanks for the $5. You kept replaying Kamala's cackle. Why do you hate us? Yes, well, I had to make a point. Had to make a point there. Sorry about that. Let's see. Trump's crazy is like a vaccine. After 8 years of constant exposure, all but the most humorless are immune. Thank you. Harris-Cheney should tour hockey arenas as losers on ice. Thank you, Exley Confidential. Thank you for that very much. All right, we got a couple quick ones. Hopefully we'll get to these before Russ has to go. But we will do the first of these two right now. Michael Rapaport was the guest of honor on the PBD podcast. I'm not sure what Patrick Bet-David's sidekick here is, but he starts asking Michael Rapaport why it's okay to criticize Jews without consequence. Apparently, they have not read about the college students getting their employment letters rescinded for protesting. That's why they have to wear masks now when they do it, because you actually can get in a lot of trouble for protesting Israel. Now, of course, we differentiate between Israelis and Jews, but they don't by design. For a very specific reason. So let's hear this. This is not long, thankfully. This is mercifully short, this clip.
Any group, 100%, other than Jews, we want to genocide all Mexicans, all gays, all blacks, all Asians. They would have been condemnation to the highest degree. But Jews, somehow it's acceptable. You know why is it acceptable, Mike? You know why?
First of all, no one's saying they want to genocide all Jews. Like, it's just a completely false construct at the beginning. But what they're saying is, why is it open season to criticize Jews without consequence? And here's my
which at this moment of all moments to say such a thing is just insane.
It's insane.
Several college presidents have lost their jobs now for not sufficiently cracking down on anti-Zionist protesters. NYU has changed its speech codes to encompass Zionism within the definitions of anti-Semitism.
Right.
And you can say things about Jews without consequence.
Business leaders like Kevin O'Leary are bragging that they're going to use AI facial recognition software that apparently is not available on the normal interwebs. There's a dark web that they can go to dox you and put you in the reject pile before you even applied to the job.
Right.
But you can criticize Jews without consequence, really. Now, of course, once again, we differentiate between Jews and Zionists. They don't. They act as if it's the same thing, and there's a reason for that, which we'll get into.
Because we are the last acceptable group to publicly hate. You can't do it against LGBTQ. You get canceled. Bye. Black community, Asian community, disabled community. You can't say the R word. Mm-hmm. You little person, you can't say the M.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the R word, Russell, what was your line before the show?
Well, he can use the R word because he's a member of that community.
That's right. So you can use the R. The reason people don't use that word in your presence, Michael, is because you are a part of that community. It would be very cruel to say that in your company. But you can use it. You have license to.
I mean, there are some people who are not of that community who will use that word in rap, but it's controversial.
Exactly.
Word. There's a lot of things that where if you say them, if I said it right now, you're done. But you can openly hate Jews. We are the last acceptable group, community, religion, race where it's not only acceptable, it's sort of
no consequences.
You're emboldened to do it right now, particularly right now.
I mean, no consequence. I mean, it is just
absolutely insane at this moment.
Outer space.
All right, so this is something I posted from Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro. This was one of the best descriptions of the current moment I've seen. Two groups conflate Zionism with Judaism. Zionists who want to legitimize Zionism by pretending it is Judaism, and anti-Semites who want to delegitimize Judaism by pretending it is Zionism.
Exactly.
Boom.
And that is the point.
Rabbi for the win.
Rabbi for the win. That's the point. When we talked to Max Blumenthal a few weeks ago, he made this point on our show that Israel wants an anti-Semitic world. They want an anti-Semitic world because the premise that undergirds their existence as a state is that without a Jewish state, Jews everywhere would be unsafe. So what do? They act in a way that promotes anti-Semitism, and the more people fall for it, because a lot of people think they're super red-pilled by seeing, oh, look, it's the Jews who run everything. You're actually playing right into Israel's hands when you go down that road. They want the world to hate Jews, because if the world hates Jews, they think, well, then Jews must see the necessity of a hyper-militarized Jewish state. And so that is why guys like Michael Rapaport like to conflate Zionism with Judaism. That's why they do it, because the more anti-Semitism persists worldwide, the more Israel can say, see, you need us for protection. We're two Jewish guys. We live in New York. We get along just fine without Israel. I consider myself much less safer for Israel's existence. That's me as a Jew saying that. They don't want to frame it that way. They cannot afford to frame it that way. For that reason, they want Jews around the world to feel scared, because they want them to feel like Israel is a necessity to keep them safe, as twisted as that logic may be. And the B point to this, which is a little more abstract but just as important, what Rapaport is, if Rapaport were to say, hey, you know what? It's okay to make fun of Jews in pop culture in ways that you can't really make fun of other groups. I think that's kind of true. Like on South Park, you have Cartman, who's openly anti-Semitic and bullies his Jewish friend. We all think that's funny. I'm a Jew. I think that's funny myself. This is the other thing Zionists hate about non-Zionist Jews, or about Jews in general, the nice, friendly, self-deprecating Jews like Russell and I. They don't like that we have a sense of humor about ourselves. They don't like that we can take a joke. They don't like that it's okay to make Jew jokes on popular TV shows. A lot of Jews like Russell and I are okay with that because we have a sense of humor about ourselves. That's one of the things that a lot of Jews are famous for. That's why Jews tend to be funny. The Zionists hate that about us. They hate that about Jews. They hate that we're funny. They hate that we're self-deprecating, because they hate vulnerability. They hate vulnerability. That's why no Zionists are funny. That's why all Israeli comedy is horrible. We're going to do a segment on Israeli comedy on Thursday morning. This is all of a piece. This is all of a piece. They see having a sense of humor about yourself as weak, and they want Jews who aren't in Israel to be scared. And so it's really an insidious line of thinking and an insidious way of talking about this. And Michael Rapaport, as dumb as he is, he does know what he's doing. When he goes and makes those videos, Jews are the chosen people, he's doing that to troll. He's doing that to troll. He's doing that because he wants to invite anti-Semitism. Why? Because the more anti-Semitism exists around the world, the more Jews are supposed to fear the world and run into the arms of Israel.
Yes, and we with the whole Darryl Cooper thing, we ran right into that buzz.
We ran right into it.
What the Rebbe is talking about there, where he says anti-Semites want to pretend Judaism is Zionism to delegitimize Judaism. Yeah, like that, when we did those segments, that opened up a whole can of worms of people. We said from the beginning that this is going to cause anti-Semitism. And I've certainly, over the course of the past year, I've seen it grow. I've seen things that were fringe, very supremacist, neo-Nazi kind of ideas getting mainstreamed. Because when people are seeing genocide, when they're seeing the level of evil of the Israeli state, when you got repulsive creeps like Rabbi Shmuley coming out and representing themselves as paragons of Judaism, and then somebody says to you, well, listen, you heard all this stuff about Hitler, right? Maybe it's not true. Maybe. Look at how many things you've been told that weren't true. Okay, so globalism? Globalism? Okay, well, who do you think's behind that? And what was Hitler fighting against, right? So what do the Jews represent? that globalist. So Hitler was trying to stop and then that's it. And what Israel is doing, I've seen it over the course of the last year. It has sucked in many more people to being open to that way of thinking than ever before. I mean, honestly, when I saw Daryl Cooper, I said, why the fuck would anybody even listen to this guy? He's a Fed with a podcast. And then I realized, okay, he's legitimizing a strain of thought that was already out there. And that sucked in a lot of people. And now he's giving them something they needed, the legitimacy of a historian, which he is not.
Exactly.
Right? But he's presenting himself as a historian and making it plausible.
Well, and the really important point is that Israel does that on purpose. You're not owning Israel by buying into Daryl Cooper's bullshit, his pro-Nazi bullshit. You're actually playing right into Israel's hands. You're not they want you to buy into all that.
Right.
They want you.
See,
all
you
that.
need Israel.
Right.
You need Israel. See, they are anti-Semites.
Right.
Look, you thought they were your friends. They are not your friends. Look, as soon as this guy starts talking, maybe Hitler have a point. They go right to him.
Exactly. They want Jews to be afraid of the world. That strengthens them. That's what Max Blumenthal told us is absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And so when you buy into that shit, you're not hurting Israel. You're not hurting Zionism. You're walking right into their trap. That is exactly what they want. That's exactly what they want. All right. Did you see Elon say he's going to advise Trump to slash government spending? Sounds a lot like neoliberalism, or maybe he's just operating on a whole different level of genius, like Reagan says. All right, folks, we're going to get to...
It's funny, man. Tesla keeps pushing their robots, fake as they may be or whatever, in terms of their autonomy. And I watch that and I say, all right, so working people who get behind Elon, what the fuck do you think he's working so hard to develop these robots for? To increase your wages?
Right.
Yeah, why do you think he wants these robots so bad? He wants to get rid of everyone on the assembly line. That's why.
All right, we're going to do more Super Chats and Rumble Rants in after this next segment, because Russ does have a hard out very soon. And I want to do this segment with Russell because this is a depeasantized your mind segment. So, Donald Trump put in his little shift at McDonald's, worked the fryer for a few minutes, worked the drive-thru for a few minutes. It was a success. People found it endearing and warm and funny, and it triggered some of the shrill, humorless libs. So win, 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 win. And, of course, Matt Walsh learns the wrong lesson from this. What does he say?
Yes.
The fact that a 78-year-old guy can perform the job up to par after being trained for 2 minutes is not exactly an argument in favor of raising the minimum wage. Oof. Oof. Well, I just had to point out, first of all, he wasn't performing up to par. He was moving very slowly. If a commenter took that long to pack your fries, your wife would start screaming about how she told you should have gone to Wendy's. That's exactly what would have happened. No amnesty makes a more serious point, though, and it's a good one. Would you stop with the elitist bullshit? The condescending tone at people who are actually working is so off-putting. Hopefully, each of Trump's co-workers today got to go on to bigger and better things. But to suggest that someone who isn't worthy of a decent wage is idiotic. Amen. Absolutely. And, I wish I had bookmarked this tweet because I read it and I really liked it and I lost it. I couldn't find it. I would have included it in this segment here. Somebody made a really good point about how Trump putting on the apron, working the fryer, happily, schmoozing with the customers at the drive-thru was a very good signal to working people. It brought a level of dignity to this work that people don't always assume is there. This work is not valued by society. It's not valued by the franchise owners. And as full of shit as Trump may be on these issues, and he's not a pro-worker guy, never has been in his entire life, there is a certain benefit to putting on a smile and working the fryer and say, you've been working the fryer how many years? It brings a level of dignity to this work in ways that Democrats don't.
Right.
And Matt Walsh takes that and just completely squanders it by making the point of, well, if he can learn how to do it in 2 minutes, that must mean whoever does this deserves to be poor. Right. I mean, that's just a completely wrong interpretation. Even a lot of MAGA people understood this better.
Right. Well, this is where this whole anti-woke thing in the end is a grift. And it's a grift that goes all the way back to Reagan. Reagan was really the original anti-wokester. He's sitting there and he's telling working people that it's ennobling to hate government programs made to help you. The scariest words in the English language are the government's. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of people in America, the scariest words in the English language are "you've got a bill from the hospital."
Yeah, or you're fired.
Or you're fired, and they don't touch on that, and it's been very effective. You know, all these people, Matt Walsh, all these anti-woke people, they are really the children of Reagan. They have very effectively gotten a lot of working people to connect working class causes that would benefit them and the people, the class they're members of, as wokeness. As wokeness, but eventually you're gonna be a millionaire. No, you're fucking not. No, you're fucking not. You know what you're gonna be doing? You're gonna be working your shit job for shit pay with no fucking insurance and screaming at woke people on the TV, and that's exactly how they want you. Now Trump, the fact that he can't say, yeah, we should raise the minimum wage, that should tell you everything you need to know. Yeah, does Trump have an ability to go among working people and do something like this that Democrats today, because of how they have chosen to culturally signal and who they've chosen to align with, it's hard to imagine any Democrat who could pull this off at this point. Like, you think they could go through the motions of it. It would come off like Dukakis in the tank.
Right.
It would just be completely cringe. Sure, they got the signaling. I mean, in a lot of ways, in that respect, Trump is very symbolic of the Republican Party, in spite of the fact that he represents a part of the party that's hostile to the establishment party. He does inherit the party's post-Reagan drift towards signaling cultural affinity without offering economic relief, and more than that, to brainwash people. Why the fuck would you be a poor libertarian? Why?
Right.
Why? You're gonna go grow your own food, sunshine? You need your non-existent property to be protected by strong property rights. Why do you think all these rich pricks are libertarians all of a sudden? It's very good for them.
Of course.
Very good for them. Look, at the end of the day, America is the greatest libertarian experiment in history. And it has proven that when you have unrestrained capital, in the end, it's not going to lead to great freedom for everyone. It's going to lead to an oligarchy. It's going to lead to a concentration of wealth at the top. It's not like we didn't try this. This country is the attempt to have that. And this is where it's brought us.
Well, yeah, and that is what is so stupid about this tweet, because Trump being there, going through the motions of working a shift, it sends the signal that he appreciates these workers, that he appreciates fry cooks, that he appreciates cashiers at drive-through windows. It sends that signal, whether he has the policy positions to back it up. Obviously, we know he does not. But it's good politics because it sends that message. And Walsh just completely steps on it by saying, hey, you know what lesson I learned from this? People who do this job are idiots because Donald Trump can learn how to do it in 2 minutes. And so why should they get paid more? Like, it's just such a self-destructive thing to message out.
Let's see Donald Trump do it for a week.
And a week, 4 hours. Try 4 hours. He did it for about 20 minutes.
Yeah. I made a joke about this when we did the original segment, and I say it again. You know, because you pointed out, because of his color scheme, he looks kind of like the product. He looks like a natural. Okay. So what does that tell you about accidents of birth?
Right.
What does that tell you about accidents of birth? If Donald Trump had been born into a different family, you might very well be seeing him there for real. The only reason this guy's running for president is he was born into wealth and privilege. Now you want to say, oh, well, he built something up. The motherfucker bankrupted a casino. He bankrupted a casino. That's something people think is impossible, to bankrupt a casino. Our system is so corrupt that once you're rich and you have those connections to banks and credit lines, you can keep fucking up and they'll restructure your loans, which they've done for him several times.
Exactly.
He is an example of how the system works to keep you rich once you're already rich and make it almost impossible to get rich if you didn't start out there.
Exactly. Well said. And with that, Russell's got to go.
Yeah,
Russell's on the Scott Ritter Show in 3 minutes. So, all right, we will see Russell again tonight on the Post-Duopoly Show.
All right. Peace out.
Peace out. Peace out. Oh, here he's going to do his sign. He's going to do his sign off.
Courage.
There you go.
See y'all later.
All right, we'll see you. All right, Russell is checking out right now, and I am going to admit our guest, Jose Vega, in just a moment. He is there right on time and ready, pro that he is. I'm just going to knock out a few of these first here. Big John, 32904. Where's Kamala's pushback for going on Fox? It's interesting. There you go. Thanks, Big John. Appreciate that. Matthews was a Capitol policeman. He would have dropped QAnon shaman before he stepped foot on sacred ground. Thank you, Abiding. Appreciate that very much. All right. Cool Blue. Politico reports Trump will record an interview on Joe Rogan's podcast Friday, October 25th. Yeah, I knew he was going to go on, but I didn't know when. So thank you for that, Cool Blue. Appreciate that. Awesome. Cool Blue over on here. Cool Blue's working both forums today for $4.99 over on YouTube. Naming election night 2016 when CNN projected a Republican pickup for Wisconsin for Trump, and Jake Tapper noting it was the moment Hillary had lost the election. That's true. That was pretty funny as well. Thank you. Angry Bird, thanks for the 20 pounds. Hi, guys. Still doing a good job. Thank you. I recommend listening to Shahid Bolson, who sounds like Malcolm X. Well worth a listen. He's an American. Thank you very much. Stephen Shepard for $4.99 says 1/3 will be happy, 1/3 will be upset. The rest of us hope they leave us alone. Amen. Thank you. You get a heart for that one. Appreciate that. Sam As I Am, thanks for the $5. Oh, I will love casting my vote having relocated Pennsylvania in time for Stein. Elon didn't offer me enough. I'll be laughing no matter what. Apocalypse cheers. Apocalypse cheers to you. Thank you, Sam As I Am. Appreciate that very much. Alrighty, folks, it is time to bring in our guest of the hour. He is a longtime friend of the show. He is also a candidate for New York's 15th Congressional District, challenging incumbent Richie Torres. We are going to be appearing together in New York City live this Saturday. Please welcome our friend Jose Vega. Jose, what's up?
Howdy. Is it too late to advocate for a unity ticket, like a Harris-Trump 24 ticket? Is it too late to do that at this point? Or?
I think so. I think the filing is already in place. Would you get a new job fixing PCs? You're fixing computers? Are you going to do a tutorial for us?
Well, here at the Vega campaign, we take what we can get. This computer is really old, dusty, and we got this 3 months ago, and I kept saying I was going to fix it, and I never got around to it. So,
all right. Well, there you go. It's a work in progress. Beautiful. Work in progress. All right.
Like the Bronx, it's a work in progress. You know?
That's right. Well, hey, man, thanks for being here with us today. It's been a pleasure to try and do what we could to help with your campaign. Obviously, Election Day, 2 weeks from today. What's the state of your campaign?
Oh, it's really difficult to tell because you can never really know. What I'm seeing on my Instagram is I'm seeing a lot of my mentions because people have been taking pictures of my lawn signs. People who don't follow me take a picture of my lawn sign and then they tag me and they're like, "Whoa, I saw your lawn sign," or "Whoa, I saw your poster." So that just has been great. Calling people back, get out the vote. We're starting a system now where we got people here in the Bronx who are being captains, which means basically we give them the material and like their job is to go get out the vote, whether it's in their building or in their block or whatever. So that's our tactic here. So, it's a little difficult to ask, well, what's the state of the campaign? I don't know. I just know we got a lot of enthusiastic support. To what extent does that translate over into a vote, if there even is a thing as an honest vote? I don't know. But I do know that there's about 110% of people are registered to vote here in the Bronx. So, it's going to be a great election.
High turnout this year. Look like high turnout. Yeah, it's inspiring to see. Well, hey, we are going to have a big event this Saturday in New York City. Build a peace chorus against the ghouls of war, an indoor peace rally and concert on Saturday, October 26th at 2 p.m. in New York City. These are the two candidates, Diane, Sare, and Jose Vega. I like the touch there where you each wear the hat of the other candidate. Yeah. That's cool. That works. And we have a great docket of speakers and performers. So there's going to be speeches and there's going to be music. Tell us about that event. Who's going to be there?
It's going to be yourself. It's going to be Russ. It's going to be me, Diane. It's going to be our friend Jimmy Dore. It's going to be Larry Wilkerson, Garland Nixon. It's going to be Scott Ritter, who actually I believe is rivaling our show right now. They're struggling right now to keep their viewership. I guess they compete with you guys.
So are we. We're competing. We're struggling to keep our. Not only are we losing viewers to Scott Ritter, I lost my co-host to Scott Ritter.
Oh no!
He just bailed up. He bailed halfway through the show. Went to Scott.
You got to get Scott Ritter to come on your show now, which I'm sure he would be more than happy to do. We got Dennis Fritz, who's part of the Eisenhower Media Group. But this is going to be a very unique indoor rally. That's what we're calling it, an indoor rally, because we have music that's happening, but it's not going to be like rock music or something. We have a chorus of people that are going to be coming in between a certain set of speakers. I'm going to be in the chorus, actually. I will be singing in the chorus. I'm a baritone, awesome. So people will be hearing my voice this Saturday on the 26th. If that's something you're interested in, not Scott Ritter or Jimmy Dore, just me singing, please pull up.
There you go.
This 26th, and people can get tickets for this event at the Vega Sare peacefund.org. It's at 2:00 this Saturday, Midtown South. The exact address will be revealed to you when you actually purchase your ticket, and tickets are going very, very fast because this week Jimmy Dore has been pushing it. Scott Ritter has been pushing it. I guess they're doing another round right now. So you don't want to miss out this event. You can come and hang out with us, and you should absolutely get your ticket ASAP. And if you do, I will probably call you personally myself. I like to do that. Anybody who donates to the campaign, because that's technically what it is. You're donating because we legally can't sell you something. You donate, and that's how you get access. I call you personally, and you can talk to me. I can talk to you. I always love talking to people who support the campaign personally. So yeah, so please, Vega Sare peacefund.org this Saturday if you're in the New York area. Hey, we have people coming from North Carolina. We've got people coming from Ohio. So, get a ticket to come out here. I know hotels are expensive right now, so stay in New Jersey and just take the train in. It's not that complicated. So definitely do everything you can to make it out this Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a really great event. Tickets are $50. That it is a campaign fund and a fundraiser, so it's all for a good cause, and you're going to get a lot of stuff. Like I said, it's going to be a fairly long event with music and speeches from some really, really great people. I'm very happy to be a part of it. I started working on a speech. I was going to do kind of a sad and somber speech since it's a very sad world we're living in. But then I had a good idea for a funny speech. So I'm going to do a funny speech. Is that okay? Is it okay if I do comedy?
Is it okay if you do comedy?
Yeah.
Is it okay to tell jokes? I think we need some jokes in this world.
Good. I mean, you have Jimmy there. I'm assuming he's going to do comedy.
Well, I don't know what anyone's going to do. Actually, it's going to be pretty wild. And I do want to say one more thing. If $50 happens to be too steep for you, there may be a number on the website that you might be able to call, which may or may not go to me. And if that is something you'd like to haggle with me over, you have to. I'm not telling you where on the website. Go on the website, look for the number, and we can work it out. Maybe
you're about to get 100 different phone calls right now. You're gonna want to mute your phone while we're doing the rest of this interview.
Let me go on Do Not Disturb.
The phone's gonna blow up from the audience members. Hey, wait, $3, because I hear $3. Yeah. But no, it's going to be a great day. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so glad we could put this together because, one of the real purposes that a campaign like yours and like Diane serves is to build community. And when you're running in a place like New York, which is such a high population center, there's sort of a unique opportunity to do that, where you can have an event in a 1,200 seat hall and fill it up. I mean, as I won't get into specific numbers, but last you spoke to me, it was filling up pretty good, and that was before Jimmy plugged it yesterday, and Scott's going to plug it now. So it's looking pretty good for a good house. That community building element is one of the reasons that really attracted me to your campaign in the first place. You know, I mean, I've been friends with you for a while now, but still, I know you and your organization are very good at that. It's a real strength of yours. And using art and culture and comedy and music as a means of doing that is something that I know Russ both believe in very strongly. So it's going to be a great day. Like I said, for safety's sake, you get the location of the event when you sign up. But it's 2 p.m., October 26th, this Saturday in New York City. It's going to be a really, really fun time. So go to Vega, Sare, peacefund.org and make that happen. We will see you there. That is going to be a really good time. Yes. Absolutely. So before I let you go, Jose, I want to do one piece of content with you, because Diane Sare made a little bit of news here on Twitter yesterday. She tweeted out the following here. An intervention of her own. That's right. Candidates Forum in Palisades didn't invite U.S. Senate candidates, but Lawler and Jones. So what's Lawler's first name?
Mike.
Mike Lawler. He's the Republican who beat Sean Patrick Maloney in 2022, which was one of the key races that determined the control of the House. And, of course, Mondaire Jones in New York 17th. Both terrible. I'm writing in Big Anthony. So here's Diane Sare doing an intervention at a candidates event in Rockland County. What is that? Rockland County, Palisades?
Rockland County, yeah,
absolutely. Where she is a resident herself.
Excuse me, when I met you, I promised to do everything possible to make sure that you would not be reelected. We are on the brink of nuclear war with Russia. We are witnessing a genocide in Gaza. We have the two worst possible congressional candidates anywhere in the country. These two candidates have no daylight between them. They support sending billions of dollars of weapons to Ukraine. If we have a nuclear war, everyone in here is going to be dead. And no one is even discussing this. It is the forum. There is no forum. There is massive censorship in this country. And I live in Rockland County, and I don't know what to do. I have never seen such a disgusting choice of non-candidates for the ballot, who are totally run by the military-industrial complex, the censorship state. Does anyone here care what's going on in Gaza right now? Do you care if Israel launches against Iran? No. And how about the state of New York?
They didn't like that. Because, so folks, you got to understand where this is. This is Rockland County, which is right across the river from Westchester County. So demographics-wise, it's very, very similar. A lot of very, very wealthy PMC conservatives and liberals, to the point where they cucked Mondaire Jones pretty good. Mondaire Jones, considered a squad-adjacent progressive during his time in Congress. He's as pro-Israel as it gets right now. Did you ever intervene on Mondaire Jones, or were you planning to? Was that the event you couldn't get into? There was some event with Mondaire Jones somewhere. No, I'm sorry. I had that wrong.
No, it was Mike Lawler. It was Lawler. That it wasn't that we couldn't get into. It was that I was there, with your dad actually, and somebody else, and we were just spotted. We were spotted. They knew who we were, and so we kind of had to do something as we were getting out the door.
Yeah, but they were. I mean, just an extremely pro-Israel district. This is right across the river from Jamal Bowman's district. That's why I knew as soon as AIPAC said they were going to spend money to unseat Bowman, I knew they were almost certain to succeed, because
it was
it's just brutal terrain for someone who has a bad word to say about Israel. Obviously, Bowman has been extraordinarily weak on that issue, but Mondaire Jones is just adopting the party line because he knows he has absolutely zero chance if he doesn't.
No, he's a totally disgusting. Like he endorsed Bowman actually the first 2 times Bowman was elected, and then he unendorsed Bowman and supported Latimer.
That's right. He supported Latimer. Right.
You know, he was a total just like asshole. This guy's clearly a grifter, Mondaire Jones. So, you know, actually, as I'm coming close to the election, these people could be my colleagues. So,
right. Well,
you know, I want people to know this is the same energy I will be bringing into the Congress.
Into Congress, yes.
Imagine November 6th, I just like give a speech. It's like, you know, there was a time for radicalism, but now it's time for diplomacy. You know, we got to make.
Oh boy, that would be very embarrassing for us, Jose. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Think about me. Think about me before you do that. Yes.
Okay. Good.
We'll let this keep playing.
New York was once the #1 manufacturing state.
I would like to continue with
Why should you continue? You're just here lying. No, there is no time. There is absolutely no time. No, there is no time, and I think we should demand that our elected officials actually talk about reality. The reality is we have massive hyperinflation. We're facing a breakdown of the entire transatlantic financial system. And the state of New York, the drug overdose rate has been going at the same, and now you're going to, yes, I'm Diane Sare, and I am running for U.S. Senate, and I got 70,000 signatures to get on the ballot, and I can tell you...
That's my favorite moment of the thing, because like it just goes to show you how much guts Diane has, you know, to be like laughed at in a room and to just keep going. You know, it's not an easy thing to just like take that. I've been in a situation like that. It's not an easy thing. And the fact that she just keeps going, she doesn't even break, like, you know, anybody who does an intervention, in my opinion, even if it's not the most articulate, even if it's somebody who like loses control, I've been seeing a lot more of them recently. Like this one woman who was yelling at Hillary Clinton, and she's just like at the top of her lungs, calling her a genocidalist. You know, she's like, F you, F you. That's all she can say. There is still a level of courage that it has to that it takes to just actually do it. So, you know, the fact that like they're trying to humiliate her, but actually all of them are just embarrassing themselves, especially when Diane runs for president soon. And then like, you know, she wins. That'll be, that clip. So
I'll have some explaining to do then. Yeah, no, I want to play this part one more time here.
Yes, I'm Diane Sare, and I am running for U.S. Senate, and I got 70,000 signatures to get on the ballot, and I can tell you that the majority of the American people are tired of war.
Okay, so the laughter there, I mean, yeah, everything you said about that, Jose, is true, but, you know, she said there, I got 70,000 signatures to get on the ballot. So, like, aside from being just totally obnoxious, it's a stupid thing to laugh at, because don't forget, folks, this is New York State. Andrew Cuomo, on his way out the door, tripled the signature requirements for third parties from 15,000 for a statewide candidate to 45,000 for a statewide candidate, which means if you are on the ballots, that means you had to have put together an organization and an operation that matches a certain level of seriousness. Like, that is demanding of a certain respect, because you wouldn't be on the ballot unless you could get over 45,000 verified, undisputed signatures to your name on your line. And so that demands a level of respect, because it demonstrates a level of seriousness that they just don't give her, because they find what she's saying to be crazy. Meanwhile, I think you have to be crazy to take an event like that seriously. Jeremy Scahill was just on MSNBC. One of the really cathartic things about what he said was he just sort of broke through and addressed the elephant in the room. Hey, as you guys are having all these wonky conversations, there's a genocide going on. What's happening in northern Gaza right now is worse than anything in this past year, if that's believable. And yet they still laugh it off as if she's the unserious one.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the fact that Diane could not, and it wasn't just once, she did it twice. You know, this is the second time she did it. She did it against Chuck Schumer 2 years ago, and we got 68,000 signatures, I believe, then. So we got 2,000 more signatures this time than we did then. And, you know, and actually it's more, I mean, there's a little insider info for you. Like we got more than 70,000, but the thing is, we were just so meticulous. Any signature that we didn't trust, you know, and we found infiltrators in our campaign too. For example, somebody who we later found out was like a Democrat insider delegate. This guy went to my people who were in like different spots in the Bronx, and he signed each one. And one of the things is that if you can be found for corruption or fraudulent, like let's say like I submitted all the signatures we did for my campaign, and oh, wait a minute, why are there 5 signatures from the same guy? Hey, that's enough evidence to prove the whole thing could be fraudulent, and you could just get tossed. So we tossed a lot of signatures that we just didn't trust, and that was true for Diane, who threw out way more signatures than we did. So, you know, that 70,000 was what we whittled it down to, that we could trust and that we knew. So it was quite an achievement that Diane did, and I don't know how we actually did it, because when you're in the moment, you know, I think even you said you didn't think we could do it, right?
No, I didn't think you could do it in the amount of time that you said I knew you would do it. I knew you'd get there. You said we're going to get, what was it? What did you need? You needed 10,000. How many did you need? You need 3,000, right?
Well, we needed 3,500 in the same 6-week window that Diane needed her 70,000.
Exactly. So I had full confidence you'd get there. I just thought you were being a little ambitious, saying we're going to get there in 10 days. But it wasn't that far off. If you had, you missed a couple days, but you got it in what? You got it in 2 weeks.
We got it in 2 weeks. Yeah, I think by the end of 10 days, we were at about like, oh God, no, I can't say this yet. I got to wait till after the election.
That's what it. Okay, so this is it's okay. So it's jogging my memory now. You had what you needed to get on the ballot in the 10 days, but you were aiming for triple. You wanted 10,000 signatures, not the 3,500. That's what it was.
After 10 days, we had like 8,400.
Yeah, so you had more than the goal. You just set the goal. You had more than what you needed after 10. You said, we want to get to 10,000 in 10 days, and you almost hit that. So, yeah, no, it's very, very, it's a very impressive operation and organization that you guys have.
And the fact that Diane was able to get 70,000, you know, and she's now the only statewide candidate, you know, that's an independent. You know, New York State, I think this is the first time that New York State does not have a third party presidential candidate.
Right.
Which is like insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to write in Jill Stein, but yeah, nobody is there. That's the other thing. Everybody else failed this time. Now, the Libertarians were doomed to fail because they didn't have their convention until, 3 days before the filing deadline for signatures in New York. So they basically forfeited New York access this time. But, yeah, Cornell didn't even come close. I think he submitted maybe 3,000 signatures out of the 45. Claudia De La Cruz failed. Jill Stein failed. You guys are the only ones. I mean, your ballot line is the only anti-genocide ballot line in New York State, which is the 4th most populous state in the country, behind California, Florida, and Texas. Yeah.
Well, when you put it like that, that's crazy. But you're writing in Jill Stein, the McDonald's Trump thing didn't work on you. It didn't.
If there was any chance of persuading me, it would have been the Arnold Palmer has a big dick thing. That to me was better than the McDonald's thing. That almost swung me. The McDonald's thing with my dad called me, is like, I want to go work at McDonald's with Donald Trump now. And then I had to listen to my dad talk about how relatable Trump is and how, he doesn't discriminate whether you're poor or rich. Donald Trump is there for you. And like, yeah, all right, Dad. Well, no, I mean, look, there is a certain truth to that, though, in terms of look, what Trump is above anything else. I mean, he was not a politician first. He really wasn't even a businessman first. He was more of a showman. But what he really is more than anything is a schmoozer. The guy can schmooze. The guy can charm people. He's good at it. When he puts on the apron, he didn't talk to the employees in a way that felt stilted. The way, could you imagine Kamala doing that? It would be the cringiest thing ever. Or Biden or Obama doing that. I mean, it would just feel so patronizing and so condescending. He has a certain essence about him where he can talk to ordinary people and charm them. And that is a talent of his. Now, of course, he doesn't have the policy set to back it up. We mentioned that in the segment that we did at the time. We got into a little bit of that earlier in this live stream. But he does have a knack for that shit. He absolutely does have a knack for that shit. There is a disarming quality about him one-on-one. Even people who hate his guts now, Keith Olbermann, remember when he made a big show, he's moving out of Trump Tower after Trump won. Well, he used to live in one of Trump's, I believe he lived in like those Upper West Side high-rises that are overlooking the West Side Highway. And he said, even when Trump was starting to run for president, before anyone took him seriously as a guy who could actually win, Olbermann said, I've met Trump in the lobby of these buildings. He comes by, he schmoozes with the people who own condos there or whatever, and he asks me how I'm liking the building. Am I happy? And he really listens when you talk to him. Like, he actually has good interpersonal skills. And I think that did come through in the McDonald's thing. That's why I think it was a success for him.
It was a big success for him. I think that, and the fact that he put out that peace statement. Did you see that about Iran? How he
no regime change in Iran?
No. He put out something on Truth Social where he said, dumb comrade Kamala, who has a very low IQ, brought Warhawk Liz Cheney, who lost 40 by over.
Oh, that's 40%, right. Yeah.
Is trying to get Arab voters, even though Liz's father wanted to go to war with every Arab Muslim country known to man. And then he ends the Truth Social tweet by saying there will be no World War III under a President Donald J. Trump presidency. And I thought that is wild that this guy is more of a pacifist than Kamala Harris, who, is really, and I just got word that she brought Richie Torres to Michigan with her husband to go and, calm all the people. Don't worry, Kamala is totally pro-Israel in Michigan of all places. So, she's going to win Michigan big time. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's funny. So she brought Richie. So what? Richie Torres campaigned with her husband.
Yeah. I just got this sent to me. I was reading a little bit of it. The Doug Emhoff, Richie Torres assure Michigan Jewish voters Harris supports Israel, and this was just published in the Times of Israel just now.
Her husband is like a known coos hound. He's a bit of a womanizer. I'm surprised she trusted him around Richie Torres. Oh! Booyah! That's a preview of my comedy set at your show.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, all right. Well, there's going to be kids there, so
Oh, there are going to be kids there?
I don't know. I mean, are you going to bring your kids? Maybe.
No, I'm not bringing my kids. I mean, if there's going to be kids there, all right. I mean, I won't.
I don't think there's gonna be. I mean, there should be kids.
I mean, I got to be able to talk about the relevant issues of the day, which are very adult in nature, like genocide and things like that. Like, I got to be able to talk about that, right? So I'm not going to scare children.
I'm not censoring you.
I'm just saying. No, I'm not. It's not about being censored. I don't want to traumatize children if they're going to be in the audience.
Back in the civil rights movement, when King was in jail. In Birmingham, I believe it was another one of the civil rights leaders whose name is James Bevel. And, he was like, let's go get the kids. Let's just get them to walk out of school. And Martin Luther King was like, no, we can't use the kids in civil rights movement. And Bevel said, well, wait a minute. If you're teaching kids about Jesus Christ and a man dying on the cross and being a martyr, what do you mean we can't also have them do nonviolent action? So there was a strong argument for, involving the children in these marches and stuff, because it's like, this is what Christianity is. So, I'm just saying, there's no reason. It's the reality of the world. I don't think there's going to be kids there, but, I mean, I would be interested if somebody was like, because they know what they're walking into. You don't walk into a rally with Scott Ritter, Larry Wilkerson, and Dennis Fritz and think like, oh yeah, this is kid friendly, right? Like the Teletubbies will show up at some point. So,
Right, exactly.
but yeah.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. All right, before we let you go, Jose, there's another event the day after yours, which you are also going to be participating in with Scott Ritter and a panel.
Yes.
I'll be back upstate for while this is happening, so I'm not on this program, but a very impressive slate of speakers are Randy Credico, Jimmy Dore, Russ, Dennis Fritz, Danny Haifong, Garland Nixon, Jeff Norman, Diane Sare, and Larry Wilkerson. And of course, you are moderating the Saving Democracy panel. You have Andrew Napolitano moderating a panel on free speech. Russ is going to be on that panel. And then Scott Ritter, obviously, the threat of nuclear war in the world today. This is at the Tudor City Steakhouse, so it's going to be a really, really nice buffet brunch. And you're going to be moderating one of these panels. You want to talk about this event a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is happening the day after. The panelists who were speaking at the rally the day before will be doing a more intimate thing with a panel. They'll be taking questions. It'll be much more conversational, and there'll be good food there as well. So you should definitely check this out, especially if you're coming from out of town and you've got a hotel booked for a night, right? You know, you're staying the night. And then you're like, I could go for some brunch and also continue listening to the speakers. Yeah, this is right up your alley. This is all for you. You should definitely also get tickets for this. This one's a little pricier. It's $100, but Scott seems to think it's worth it. And I believe he said this in an interview that they only have 125 tickets left. 125 tickets in total. And they had already sold like 85 or 90. So, you know, Spots are limited for the brunch. So if you're trying to go to this, you got to like hurry up because there's, not a lot of time left.
Not a lot of time left. Go to scottritter.com if you want to buy tickets to that. And I mean, look, it is a spend, but at a restaurant like that, the brunch alone would probably run you $75. I mean, it's the steakhouse thing. So you're going to get, it's a pretty luxurious food experience there. Like I said, Russ has his tour the night before, the Weird New York tour. So if you really want to have a dissident weekend, you go to Jose's event in the afternoon, you go to Russ's walking tour at night, you go out, you get fucking shit-faced after Russ's tour to the point where you're hungover for this brunch, and then you go there and you eat fatty steaks, and it knocks your hangover right out, and then you got 3 hours of great programming at the Tudor City Steakhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've got two big action-packed events. This weekend's going to be a big weekend. I think also the 26th, early voting starts. I think you can just start walking into your booths and voting. And so if you're in the New York State area, go vote Diane Sare. I don't know who you're voting for president. That's up to you. I don't know, if I'm going to write in Jill Stein yet or not. Most likely will. Or I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing for president, but I know what I'm doing for Senate. I know what I'm doing for Congress. I know what I'm doing. That's pretty much it. I know there's something on Prop 1, but now we're talking local politics here. And it's like, I don't know. Keaton, are you for Prop 1? Are you against Prop 1? What do you want me to tell people to do?
What is Prop 1? I don't even know what it is. I'm serious. I don't know what it is. What's Prop 1?
It's going to be on your ballot. It's supposed to be two things that they're codifying.
I'll give you an answer in 30 seconds. Just tell me what it is.
They're codifying abortion into the state charter so that it's always a state protected thing, that abortion can be a thing. And also that they're making it so that medical consent, it has to always be private, and it has to, and I believe it is what the conservatives are saying, that even people who are underage who want to make medical decisions don't need consent of their parents. So if they're looking for transition care or something, then they don't have to consult with their parents and they can just do it.
That's all part of Prop 1?
That's all part of Prop 1.
Well, that's a little more complicated than I thought. Because when you package in the gender care for minors, that makes it a little more nuanced, I suppose. I would definitely vote for it if it were just codifying abortion. But the thing is, codifying abortion, New York is going to have abortion access anyway. New York's never going to lose abortion access because the statewide politicians will always support it. So I said I'd give you an answer in 30 seconds, but now I can't. Now I have to look more into it. It's more complicated than I thought.
He is an informed voter.
Thanks for fucking up my flow. I thought I was going to have an answer for you.
Yeah, right. Voting isn't easy, folks. So you should get educated, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't know if I would require parental consent for the gender stuff, because what if you have a situation where there's an abusive parent? Like, those are all things that you could, like, that's what I mean. I'd have to look into it more. Like, I don't know. It seems complicated. That's something else to look into now.
All I know is that all the red parts in the state are saying no, vote no on Prop 1, and all the blue parts are saying yes, Prop 1. So
Right, well, I'll look into it.
Yeah,
I'll look
right.
into it. But,
and it'll be at the back of your ballot too, so don't forget to flip
Oh
that.
yeah, no, I know how that works. Yeah, that's on the back. We flip it over, that whole deal. Absolutely. All right, Jose. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for taking time out of your campaign schedule. We will see you on Saturday. Once again, tickets, folks, at the Vega Sare Peace Fund. Oh, before I let you go, I mean, I could just tell you this in private, I guess. I could lobby you in private, but I guess I'll lobby you in public. So the reason I'm voting for Jill Stein, I'm writing in Jill Stein, has nothing to do with Jill Stein or the Greens or anything like that. I'm doing it simply as a show of support for the Arab and Muslim voters who have endorsed her as a protest vote. You know, you have the Abandon Harris movement in Michigan who have decided to direct their protest vote in her direction. And so as a show of solidarity, I will support them. It really has nothing to do with my feelings about Jill or the Greens or anything like that. I just see it as an act of solidarity with people who are asking us to do that. And so I'll say yes. That's my pitch for Jill Stein. That's why I would suggest that you do it.
Well, it's a good reason, I think, to vote for Jill Stein. I think my view on voting has become much more nuanced. I mean, you know, I said in the documentary I voted for Trump twice. That was a protest vote against just the establishment as a whole. And now I definitely am not voting two-party anymore. And I have been considering voting Jill Stein. But my thing on voting now is it's like, I don't think voting should be a protest vote. It should be, who do I actually think should be running the country? And who do you, you know, people watching this should be running the country? And if that means it's like your uncle who gets drunk every Thanksgiving and is like, if I just could run the country, I could fix it. You know, like if that's really who you think should be running the country, I think that's who you should vote for. But I think I probably would vote. I probably will just write in Jill Stein. I mean, like I'm, you know, looking at her and looking at what she says. Like, I'm basically asking myself, like, if I voted Jill Stein and she was in power, would I be happy with the decisions she would make? And it's like, I don't agree with everything in her platform, but I do agree with her intention and I agree with her. So the question is probably like, yeah, most likely. So,
all right.
You know, we'll see. You know, I'm not coming out with an endorsement for any presidential candidate. I mean, you know, I've tiptoed the line here and there, but you know, so that's where I'll say I hope I'm not upsetting anybody. Or started like a more nuanced conversation just by talking. You know, that's the thing, Keaton. You know, we ran into this whole nuance issue a few months ago, and it's like you can't do nuance because
this is the internet. You can't do nuance on the internet.
I'm sure somebody's gonna clip this and be like, you know, oh God, Jose's probably gonna vote. They'll figure out how to misconstrue it that I'll vote Democrat or something. I don't know.
Well, we know you're not going to do that. So Prop 1, so hold on a second. So the gender thing, does it say that, well, I guess if they wouldn't need parental consent, it means they could do it under 18. I don't really love that, right?
That's
like, I don't think you should get surgery under 18. I think you should probably have, you should be adult before you consent to surgery. All right, so I guess I'd probably vote no. I'd have to look at it. But if parental consent is an issue, it means they would be doing it under 18, which I'm not for that.
Because the language they says is no person shall, because of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, age. That's the age part. Right. Disability, creed, religion, or sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, reproductive health care, be subjected to any discrimination in their civil rights by any other person or by any other firm. So I guess it's not explicitly saying you don't.
It's vague. I'd have to look into it more, but it sounds like one of those things that's deliberately vague, which is always a red flag, right? I mean, whenever politicians put something, whenever an initiative comes up that's deliberately vague, it requires a level of scrutiny. All right. So now I got to look into that. All right. Well, Jose, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Appreciate it. Always great to see you. I will see you again on Saturday. So will a lot of other people. So get those tickets, everybody. Vega, Sare, peacefund.org for tickets, and we will see you Saturday. Where the hell is it? I just had it. There it is. Vega Sare Peace Fund.
PeaceFund.org, right there.
All right. Beautiful, man. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. I'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday.
All righty. Bye-bye. Jose Vega, everybody. Love that guy. We all love Jose. Round of applause for Jose Vega in the chat. Great of him to come by today. All right, we got some business to take care of. We got some Rumble rants. We got some super chats, and I might do a solo segment. Right, I got a segment loaded. I could move it to Thursday if I want to, or I could just do it now. Maybe I'll just do it now. All right, but in any event, we got a lot to take care of before that. R. Dean W., thanks for the $2. I hate to say it, but a Harris-Cheney ticket would be a lock for the Dems. I'm sure the Cheney family has a way to make walls go away. I don't know if it'd be a lock for the Dems. I mean, I don't know what kind of weight she actually pulls. This seems like just a theory of media that Liz Cheney is a far more important figure in politics than she actually is. That's my suspicion. Viggy1121, if Kamala wins, we should all move to Poland with the puppet guy. The puppet guy. I am Viggy1121, and I approve this message. Good idea. I'll pass that along to Kevin. I'm sure he will get a kick out of seeing that. Let's see here. Violent Fembot. Anyone who spends any time in the affluent Maryland, Virginia, D.C. suburbs understands the Harris-Cheney alliance perfectly. Profit from war, cheap illegal labor to manicure their gorgeous horse farms. There you go. Thank you, Violent Fembot. Appreciate that. I am the Owl. Thanks for the $2. Sorry I'm late. Was catching a Daryl Cooper podcast about how Azov Battalion is actually just a misunderstood humanitarian outreach group with an unusual fashion style. What were you saying about neo-Nazis? Thank you, I am the Owl. Pleasure to have you here. Nocturnal Human. I can learn to read a teleprompter in 2 minutes. He should work free. Thank you, Nocturnal Human. Appreciate that very much. Doc Durkin. Jewish history and diaspora is so much more than Israel and Zionism. As a Goy, I've always appreciated Jewish perspective and historical relevance from the Sephardic within Moorish Spain to Kubrick. Thank you, Dr. Durkin. Appreciate that very much. Bonzo Bean says, you're undoubtedly correct about the rise of anti-Semitism. It seems to be exploding on Twitter. I think you're wrong about Daryl Cooper. I just don't see what you see. So with Daryl Cooper, like I said, the straw man is that we are these big Churchill defenders, which, of course, we're not. What Daryl Cooper does is deny the agency of Nazis. That's what he does. And that's what, look, the Nazis themselves did that in the run-up to World War II. If the Jewish financiers force us into war, it will lead to the extermination of their people, right? There's always this very abusive husband, look what you made me do quality that is sort of baked into Nazism. But especially now, in a time where you're not allowed to just run around and celebrate Nazism, they have to sort of cloak their Nazism in, well, it's not that what the Nazis did was good, it's that their hand was forced. They were forced into it. They didn't want to do it. They were forced into it. When Cooper appeared on the Dave Smith podcast, he said something, I had the exact quote. I gave this quote to Dave Smith when he tried to argue with me, and then he ran away when I gave him this quote from Daryl Cooper on his show. He said something to the effect of, I'm not getting it exactly right now because I don't have it in front of me, but, the Germans were a people with prejudices and beliefs just like you or me who were thrust into a certain history that led to an outcome. Again, that's denying agency to Nazis. And, Hitler made his plans for the East known long before he even took power, much less long before World War II, long before he even took power, dating back to 1919. In his book, in Mein Kampf, published in the mid-20s, he talked about reestablishing a German empire that was racially pure, which of course required the ethnic purging and or extermination of inferior races. And so what Cooper does, the big problem with Cooper is he takes the agency away from them. He makes it sound like that was never their intention from day one. They were just sort of thrust into that by circumstances. So I hope that clears it up for you, Bonzo Beans. Kenman G. I totally agree with and respect your take on Russell Brand, but he deserves credit for scoring with Katy Perry. A real 10 out of 10. There you go. Absolutely. Hey, credit where credit's due. And hey, look, both Russ Dobular and myself were both huge fans of Russell Brand. That's, to me, the tragedy of Russell Brand. It's not like he was this mediocre guy who went sideways. He was actually fantastic back in the day, as of relatively recently. All right. Francie, thanks for the $1.99. Liz Cheney has the charisma of a dish rag. Yes. Francie also gave us a $20 super sticker. Thank you for that. That's very sweet. Thomas Ramirez, thanks for the $20. How can I help catch you up on modern monetary theory? The myth of scarce money promoted austerity, and I win a lot of pragmatic right-wingers with economics. I think we need to know a little bit about this on the left. Look, that's on our list of topics to delve into, but it's got to wait till after November 5th. From now until Election Day, we are packed. So that would be my suggestion. Give us about 15 days is what I would say on that. But thank you for that donation. That is very kind of you. All right, folks, if you would like to have a pet project, small business, or a book or a podcast of yours featured on this show, you can fill out the contact form at dudissidents.com/sponsors. We are partnering with our audience to help fund the show and help fund their projects, and these have been pretty successful for our audience members, including Andrew Richard Malcolm, who has a book out called Die Coast by Cecilia. I'll read you some copy that he sent me to summarize this book. Alex, his sister Cecilia, and their two cousins Kate and Sam land on Toronto Islands in two canoes lashed together like a catamaran after crossing Lake Ontario from Hamilton, where they escaped a disaster of a family reunion. Because Cecilia can't stay awake in boats and was asleep in canoes before the escape, she only becomes aware of what happened after the landing. In a rage, she demands to be paddled to mainland Toronto so she can fly back to Montreal. Along the way, over a sleepless 48 hours, they visit many spots around Toronto's shorelines. Throughout the urban canoe trip, the trippers get chased multiple times by trespass police, meet an array of friends, foes, and potential romances, and ultimately become entangled in a dragon boat festival, which they leave in a mad dash with a crowd of angry paddlers in pursuit. The story oscillates between the urban canoe trip, Alex's future life in Toronto, and his creative writing, which is always reflective of him and Cecilia and their sibling relationship. Die Coast by Cecilia poses to the reader comparisons between analog and digital mediums, between social connection and disconnection, between urban integration and wilderness isolation, and between life imagined and life lived. So if you want to support the dissident arts community and pick up Andrew's book, go to andrewrichardmalcolm.com for more information. All righty. We will keep plugging along here. We got some more super chats and rumble rants to read here. AOB, thanks for the $9.99. Do you guys think Israel's atrocities will lead to its downfall like many such as Scott Ritter think it will? I'm less optimistic that they will face deserved consequences. Well, I think their economy is in real trouble, and I do think that there, yes, will be justice for this down the road. They have really turned the world against them in a way that is going to make the long-term prosperity of their state, I think, something that it will be very difficult to maintain. They're already feeling economic consequences for this, and I do expect they will continue and intensify. Thank you for that donation very much. Appreciate it. Theater in a Fire, thanks for the $5. What's a bigger grift, woke or anti-woke? Who wins the grift contest? Does anybody believe anything, or is everything a grift? Is grifting a grift? Yes. I think the anti-woke grifts, look, these come in cycles. One feeds the other, right? So if you asked that question 2 years ago, I'd tell you the woke grift was bigger. But now that the woke grift has been exposed as a grift, the anti-woke grift is having its day in the sun. And in a couple of years, that'll be exposed. And that might lead to a woke backlash, which means the woke grift will have their day. I think they move in cycles. RBGH fam, thanks for the $5. Libertarians would argue we live under feudalism, where regulators regulate in favor of the wealthy. Well, I would agree with them on that. What I would challenge them with is, well, how do you prevent capitalism from evolving into that? Because there doesn't seem to be a mechanism within capitalism to prevent that from happening. Tom, thanks for the $9.99. Have you seen the report from Dan Cohen about Israel setting up biometric concentration camps in Gaza with approved Palestinian representatives run by CIA mercenaries, all approved by Jake Sullivan? I believe I did see something to that effect, but I did not look into it as much as I admittedly should have. So I will look into that because I think I saw him tweet about that. And is there an article attached to that? I'm assuming there must be. Theater in a Fire, thanks to the $5. They are laughing because they subconsciously recognize that running for political office is a self-interested grift, including Jose and Diane. Sorry. Thank you, Theater in a Fire. I assume you will not be buying a ticket to the rally. Steve McNelly, did Jose see one of our Australian senators, Lydia Thorpe, give it to King Charles at his parliamentary reception 2 days ago? She is getting a bollocksing in the press. I will bring that up to him, Steve. Thank you. I'm going to flag that so I remember to ask him that because that's something he'd be interested in for sure. Kyler Bleeker, thanks for the $2. Please talk to Ritter about the lesser danger argument. All right. I'll pass that along to Russell. He's on with him right now, I assume. Black Spock, thanks for the $5. Enjoyed the interview with Diane Sare. Glad to know someone who enjoys classical music. Yes, she actually plays music. She will be performing. She'll be playing. What does she play? I think she plays either the trombone or the baritone horn. I think she plays the trombone. So I'm pretty sure she'll be playing the trombone at the rally on Saturday. So yeah, there will be a lot of music there. And I know the venue. We can't disclose the venue for security reasons. But it's a great venue for live music. It's going to sound really great in that room. I can tell you that. Mark, thanks for the $5. Predict post-Trump win. Deep state JFK's him and blames Iran pushing populist support for forever war and getting rid of Trump at the same time. You know, it's not a bad theory, Mark. That's actually good thinking there. All right, folks. Britsman, listen to full Martyr Made episodes to really understand Cooper. All right. I don't know if that's a joke or not, Britsman. I'm exhausted by that. It's an exhausting topic at this point. Let's see. What else do we have? Are we all caught up on Rumble rants? Do I want to do this last segment? See, this last segment is really, I need Russ for this because this is about the Central Park Five suing Donald Trump. And, you know, Russ was a young adult at the time that this case was brought. And so I feel like he's an important guy to hear from when we talk about this. So I'm going to shelve the last segment until Thursday because I really feel like I want Russ for this since he will have personal recollection of that whole incident. So his commentary will be deeper than mine. And so I will hold off on the last segment until we can do it with Russell on Thursday morning. But folks, just as a final piece of housekeeping, I, of course, have to hear a word from our supporters. That's right, our patrons, our paid locals members, and our paid Substack members. We have a lot of stuff coming up for you guys. So at patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.substack.com, or our locals, which we're really pushing right now. And a lot of you guys have been signing up to our locals, which is amazing because locals is run through Rumble. So it's a free speech membership platform. You can join if you're watching on Rumble right now. Hit that bright red join button underneath the screen. And that will take you to our locals page where you can join for as little as $5 a month. You can also, if you're not watching on Rumble right now and you want to reach us, DoDissidents.locals.com. You get your name up in lights here. You get call-in access to the post-show Q&As every Sunday. You also get live stream access to our pre-recorded interviews. We were supposed to do one yesterday, but our guest had to reschedule for very good reason, not a Brianna Joy Gray type reason. And so we're trying to put something together for tomorrow. So you might get an email tomorrow morning, heads up, if you want to sit in on our interview. You can do that live when you're a paid member. We will be having a supporter stream tomorrow night starting at 7:45. We're going to be live streaming the third-party candidates debate and then taking calls afterwards. So that is happening tomorrow. On Saturday, paid members are going to get live stream access to Russell's walking tour in New York City. So you're going to get that. And then we're going to have movie night on Monday. So this is a great week to join our locals or our Substack or our Patreon. You're getting a lot of stuff this week, a ton of stuff this week, a lot of stuff planned for the Locals members. Oh, look, Russell's back.
I'm back.
You're back.
I'm everywhere today.
All right, so we will do one more segment. I was going to do the Central Park 5 on my own.
What happened to Jose? What, did he quit?
I got, half an hour, and then that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get shit done. I move it along at a pace.
Boom.
Come on, say your piece. That's good. No, but I was telling everybody the great week that we have in store for our Locals members and our paid members. We have a ton of stuff. We have tomorrow, we're doing our supporter stream of the third-party candidates debate. Then we're going to live stream your tour on Saturday. We're going to do movie night on Monday. So this is a great week. If you were thinking about signing up, you are really getting
this is the week
bang
to do
for
it.
your buck this week. A lot of stuff going on for our members. Do this at installocals.com. You could also join our Substack or our Patreon. But you guys are the backbone of the show, and so we thank you very much for your support. Hey, how was the Scott Ritter show?
Those guys are really concerned about nuclear war. It's kind of a drag.
Yeah, they're kind of downers.
Like, huh? I thought it was a movie review site.
Yeah, this is depressing. You guys are depressing.
I thought we were going to talk about the substance. The Demi Moore movie.
Yeah.
It was all nuclear war. No, they were great, man. They were great. That was a very good time. I'm looking forward to meeting them.
Awesome. The only thing Kamala pushes back on are D Party leader genitals. There you go. Nice. Good one. Vega's looking sharp with that new haircut. Much love and solidarity, Jose. Yeah, Jose.
You got a haircut?
Yeah, no, he looks sharp. I told him I was going to do some comedy. I told him I was first going to do a sad speech, and then I had an idea for a funny speech, so I'm going to do the funny speech instead. And he greenlit it.
Okay.
I didn't tell him what it's going to be about. I'm not telling anybody.
Yeah. She sent out that list. They think we're doing a brother act. We got to tell them we're separate.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we could
they put us together in the same slot.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, they'll probably have you and then me after, so you can go on the stage by yourself.
Okay. What we should do? They would have no idea what to do with this, man. If we get like tucks and tails and tap shoes, we go out and
do a dance routine
terribly. Just wing it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Mime act. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Juggling. Do a circus act. That would be fun. That could be something. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I like that idea. All right, hey, let's do this Central Park 5 thing. I was going to do it by myself, but I'm like, no, I need Russell for this because you were an adult at the time this happened, right? You remember this kind of in real time, I assume?
Yeah, very young adult, but yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I figured, you with your New York upbringing might have more to bring to this than me. So I was thinking we were going to have to do it on Thursday, but you're back, so why don't we do it right now? So we got one more song, everybody. One more song, not done yet. Lovely T.
I think I was like 18 or 19.
Yeah, that's what I figured, right?
Yeah.
Because it was
69. What year
it was like
it?
late 80s, right? Wasn't that like the late 80s? Something
It was
like
late 80s. Yeah.
The 5 men who make up the Central Park 5 and now call themselves the Exonerated 5 have filed a defamation lawsuit against Donald Trump over his remarks during the presidential debate last month. So let's see the remarks in question.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago.
All right. So there are the comments in question. And yes, the Exonerated Central Park 5 sue Trump for defamation after debate. Comments. The 5 men who make up the Central Park 5 and now call themselves the Exonerated 5 have filed a defamation lawsuit against Donald Trump over his remarks during the presidential debate last month. The lawsuit focuses on the September 10th debate in Pennsylvania, where Trump said that the 5 men, Antron McCray, Kevin Richardson, Yusuf Salaam, Raymond Santana, and Corey Wise, pleaded guilty when they were tried in connection with the assault and rape of a woman who had been running in Central Park on April 19th, 1989, and that the victim had died. During the debate, he said they said they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty, as we just saw. At the time of the trials, each had pleaded not guilty, and the victim of the attack survived. The complaint said Trump's statements are demonstrably false, adding plaintiffs never pled guilty to any crime and were subsequently cleared of all wrongdoing. Further, the victims of the Central Park assaults were not killed. The complaint further said that the men, now in their 50s, have suffered injuries as a result of defendant Trump's false and defamatory statements. The 5, who were teenagers when they were indicted, had maintained their innocence throughout their trials and incarceration. In their trials, they were charged with the assault of the female jogger as well as other assaults and robberies that occurred in Central Park. The 5 spent years behind bars before being exonerated in 2002 after DNA evidence linked another man, a serial rapist, to the attack. The city ultimately agreed in a legal settlement, to pay the exonerated men $41 million. The case was subsequently heavily scrutinized as the 5 were claimed they were intimidated and coerced into making false confessions. The case came at a time of heightened racial tensions and when crime dominated headlines. Trump, then a real estate mogul, had taken out large ads in newspapers calling for New York to bring back the death penalty. The defamation suit was filed in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. The complaint noted that Salam, a New York City council member representing District 9, was in attendance at the debate and was in the room when Trump made those statements. The 5 men did not ask for a specific amount in relief, but asked that a trial be held to determine damages. Trump's campaign spokesman, Stephen Chung, said Monday, "This is just another frivolous election interference lawsuit filed by desperate left-wing activists," meaning what? Exonerated men, in attempt to distract the American people from Kamala Harris's dangerously liberal agenda and failing campaign. And for those who have never seen this, bring back the death penalty, bring back our police. This was a full-page ad that Trump took out at the time calling for the death penalty for these men. He also famously went on the Larry King show and said, maybe hate is what we need right now. That was a big piece of sound that gets around when we look back at this case. That Ava DuVernay miniseries, I think it was called The 5, was very good. That was about this case. And they actually show some footage of Trump, talking this kind of shit about these men at the time. So, hey, it's a litigious country. Everybody goes to get a piece of theirs when they're wronged. And if they were wronged by this, then I say good for them. Go get it. Why not? Ain't that America?
You and me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of those cases you get every now and then that is just the absolute obsession of the media. It was for a couple of years, obviously, particularly in New York City, but it broke out into the national consciousness. But the Central Park jogger, it was one of those things at the time. So in that environment, remember at that time, Trump was at least perceived, and I think in actuality was a Democrat. This also coincides with a national hysteria about crime, and again, particularly in New York City. So him saying something like that, it didn't even code as right wing in quite the way it does now. That was a pretty popular sentiment.
Course. Yes.
Yep. Bring back the death penalty. Like even a lot of not long after this happened, Giuliani was elected mayor in a city where Democrats outnumber Republicans 4-1.
Yep.
So that gives you an idea of the timbre of the moment that he said that in. It was not when you get this kind of absolute obsession about a crime, it's almost like you can't go too far in what you say about it, right? It becomes What's the craziest thing you could say? I want them torn apart by wild dogs.
Right.
You know, there's nobody really to say,
There's
well,
no
that's
price
too,
to pay for any of that.
there's no price to pay for saying something like that. So that's really the context in which he's saying that. That having been said, it shouldn't be too surprising he's taken the turn that he's taken. You're talking about somebody who Trump was not very political. He was a New York tabloid figure.
Right.
The fact that when he did choose to speak out, it was almost exclusively this kind of round up the troops stuff. And I'm sorry, it tended to be stuff that was racially tinged that made him interested in throwing in his 2 cents about it.
Right.
Look at the Obama birth certificate thing.
Yep.
Like, why would that be what you really want to speak on? So this is who Donald Trump has been for a long time. Now, a lot of working people will get drawn into this kind of rhetoric because they perceive it as powerful. They perceive it as strong talk. We're going to stop these criminals. Meanwhile, the real criminals are Donald Trump and his buddies who are robbing you blind. Those are the actual criminals, but they want you looking at the street criminals and not looking at the real criminals that create the conditions that cause crime. This particular incident not being an example of that, but that's why they want you obsessing on that. It's a bunch. It's like they got a bunch of monkeys in a cage and they just throw in stimuli to get us all to fight with each other while they get to live outside the cage.
Look at that Trump derangement syndrome from Russell there. That TDS.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis?
I swear to God, I was telling Keaton this because probably the first time that we, got into anything that a sizable portion of our audience was upset about was when I would get into the trans thing. And the trans activists were much more measured than the people with the other kind of Trump derangement syndrome. They think Trump is the God King. He's a poet warrior in the classic sense. Whenever we drop a segment where there's any kind of criticism of Trump, you get a few unsubscribes, always.
Yeah.
Which at this point, I'm like, what about our last 10 videos on this subject did you not understand? Now, hey, we're fair. Like our thing about the McDonald's thing, we were like, yeah, man, that was a good move. And
it worked.
It worked, and certainly we're no lovers of Kamala. We're not on the lesser of two evils. Oh well, in the end, the Democrats are better. We don't say that. We don't believe that. But come on, man, this is who this guy is. This is who he has always been. I don't like seeing people getting conned. It's not a hatred of people who might follow Donald Trump. If anything, I think we're definitely much more sympathetic to that, because at least for the most part, from what I could see, the people who want to support Donald Trump are in bad economic straits, and they're looking for a way out. They're looking for somebody who's going to help them. That's a very sympathetic motive. With the libs, they're just looking for justifications for their privileges and their lifestyle. They're just looking for culture war distractions and really not much else. They don't, as Keaton has put it very well, they don't have problems government can solve, so they can afford to just be talking about drag brunches. And not that nobody on the right does that, but if you look at the campaign Trump has run, he really hasn't been talking about that kind of thing.
No.
Even the dogs and cats thing was in our opinion, poorly formulated way of opening up a discussion about immigration, which is a real issue that really affects people's lives. So I'm much more sympathetic really to the MAGA crowd, but that's almost what bothers me more, because I don't like seeing those people get conned because they really need help. The libs are not as sympathetic to me.
And what you said is right. I couldn't think of this example, but because it's true. Like every time you drop something that's critical of Trump, you hear the feedback. And the funniest was, you talk about like bizarro Trump derangement syndrome where like you can't even take like even a joke. With the JD Vance donut segment, that's what it was. I couldn't remember what the example was. But you know, JD Vance, he goes to make small talk with the lady serving him the donuts, and it totally fails. And then he still has to go through the motions and order the donuts because he can't make it look like he was only there for the photo op. So when he goes to order the donuts, he's like, yeah, just throw a few in there, you know, whatever makes sense. And I made the joke like, yeah, whatever, I don't really want the donuts. I was just here for a photo op, but I guess I have to buy them. It's part of the bit, part of the joke. And we get one guy in the comments says, it's totally normal to order donuts that way. People order assortments of random donuts all the time. What are you giving him a hard time about ordering donuts that way? It's like, dude, you need to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit. You need to relax a little bit. That's why I say, that's why I'm telling you election night's going to be so funny, because both these crowds are funny when they're mad. They both get so hysterically triggered that it's just going to be such great entertainment watching one of those factions just lose their shit.
See, that's it. Like the trans activists, you would expect them to go insane. And I got to say that when I would do those segments before all those people left our audience, I don't think we have anymore. They would try to debate the issue. They would try to debate it. They were very annoying in their formulations. Believe people when they tell you who they are. It's really simple. Yeah, no, it's not that simple for a fucking 8-year-old that you want to medicalize. It's not that simple. That's why we're talking about it. But at least they kept it on that. And honestly, once they saw our minds were not going to be changed, they just left. That was it.
Or some of them just stayed and don't talk about it anymore. Like we got a lot of people who just like would react badly every time we would talk about that, but then they would just go back to enjoying the rest of the show. Like they could compartmentalize it. They don't have an absolute fucking meltdown the way a lot of the MAGA people tend to. Not all of them, of course. Present company excluded. If you're here and having a good time, we welcome everybody. We want to be a heterodox show with a heterodox audience. But yeah, I have noticed that.
Yeah, no, the meltdowns with some people, like you said, not everybody. We got a lot of MAGA people who are like, yeah, you know, I was going to vote for Trump, but I can't anymore.
Yeah.
After seeing some of the clips of him backing Netanyahu, we got some of that on that clip. So no, man, but you know, you got I might do a video essay about this. You know, there's Young talked about it. Like there's and actually they just did a video about this at a channel called Academy of Ideas. Young talked about how there's a syndrome of having an enormously inflated sense of yourself, which is what our elites have, right? Just absolute narcissism. But then there's a corresponding syndrome where you think so little of yourself that you get invested in heroes and leaders because you want to assign responsibility for yourself to somebody else. And that's what I see. No matter who it is, it doesn't even matter what the ideology is. I'm personally allergic to that kind of hero worship. I don't think it ever ends well.
Yeah, me too. Viggy, Jose, I'm writing you in as my pick for president 2024. Please prepare your inaugural speech. Love you, NDD. Thank you, Viggy. Appreciate that very much. Stoop sign, I just made and ordered my Trump-Harris unity button and will wear it proudly. Thanks, Jose. Trump, blue, and Harris, red in my design, just to fuck with people. Intervene on their mind. Rest will follow. Thank you very much, Stoop sign.
So somebody in the chat here says, Two Bunnies says Trump's going on Rogan Friday. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah. What's his Cool Blue alerted us to that. I mean, it was we knew he was gonna. It's been confirmed.
We knew
for a while.
He was going to do it.
He was going to do it. We just didn't know
Friday,
when. Yeah. I think Brianna got wind of your criticisms of some of her takes from the past and decided to ghost you because at the end of the day, she never wanted to do those topics you wanted an answer for.
Yeah, that's not why she ghosted us, because she was going to go on ridiculously late. Yeah. And at that point, we were like, yeah, fuck it, man. Subsequently, the reason she might have not rescheduled might be that.
Yeah, she may have heard something about that. Although she has been liking some of our tweets. You guys can't see that because you can't tell who likes anymore on someone else's tweet. But maybe she's sending out a signal for friendship.
Well,
Bonzo
because
beans.
we're backing the Greens,
well, that's
and
true
among
now,
the
yes.
kind of PMC commentators she's tended to be friends with, she's holding a lonely position.
That's right. That's right.
No comfort from Kyle and Crystal on that.
No, not at all. Bonzo Beans, thanks. Yes, of course, Bonzo Beans, thank you for the question. I recently blasted Eric Weinstein for making the no agency argument regarding Israel. He calls it IDF-assisted suicide and zugzwang, i.e. being forced to act by the adversary. Thank you, Bonzo Beans. Appreciate that. What do we got over here? Sparky. Hey, Sparky, just in the nick of time for $10. Thank you. Brick Summit starts in a day or two. Did your CIA-curated cold news feed mention it? It has gotten much coverage in the Western media. It hasn't, gotten much coverage in the Western media, despite being a historical turning point. Yes, I've seen that. That's on Twitter. Isn't that on Friday? Isn't that on the 24th? I believe that's the date.
24th is Thursday.
Okay, so Thursday, whatever it is. But it's the 24th. That's the date I recall. All right, folks, that is our show. Don't forget, tonight's 8 p.m., Revolutionary Blackout Network, Post-Duopoly show. Russ, myself, Nick, and Kit. That's going to be a really fun time. The last Post-Duopoly show pre-election, so you're not going to want to miss that one. Tomorrow, if you're a patron.
Or maybe the last before nuclear war.
Yes, now Russell's going to be bringing that up every segment now.
I'm telling you, he recommended a book that kind of games it out. Mm-hmm. I'm like, on the one hand, I'm really curious. On the other hand, I'm like, yeah, that's all I need.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. DoDissidents.substack.com, patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.locals.com. There's a chance, I'm trying to finalize it with our guest, that we'll have an interview for you around midday tomorrow. But either way, supporter stream tomorrow night for the Green Libertarian debate, the third-party debate. There's some other participant in there, too, who somehow made it. So we're going to hear a third-party debate with call-ins afterwards. So we will see patrons tomorrow night. We'll see everybody tonight on RBN. We'll see you all again Thursday morning. You'll see me Thursday afternoon on Pasta's show. You'll see Russell on Friday in the city for his tour. You'll see both Russell and myself on Saturday
just
for the event.
Just a few tickets left for Friday night. Saturday is once again sold out, I believe. Or maybe one ticket. There might be one for Saturday left.
Well, you'll see Russell again Saturday night. Then you'll see us again on Sunday night for the main show. Then you'll see us again on Monday night for the movie night. So if you're a patron, you're going to be seeing a lot of us in the coming weeks. So see if you can join and sign up. Patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.substack.com, or join our locals. Click that join button underneath the screen if you're on Rumble. Everybody else, follow that link, and we will see you when we see you. But next on the list, just a few hours, we'll be on RBN for our Post-Duopoly show. Thank you very much for being here. Sparky got one in before the buzzer over on YouTube. Good, bad, or indifferent, Trump is one of the few politicians who could pull off that McDonald's thing. Absolutely. No argument there, Sparky.
Absolutely.
Yep. Folks, we appreciate you being here today. We are going to go get some dinner, and we'll see you in a few hours over on RBN. Until then, thank you for this afternoon. Thanks for being here with us. Be safe and be well.
Courage.
Please clap.